Chapter 67. The vermilion fruit was a rare treasure that could increase the level of practice of adepts. It was extremely rare and could only be found by chance. The vermilion fruit was divided into 100-year vermilion fruit, 1,000-year vermilion fruit and 10,000-year vermilion fruit. For anyone below level 3 of Qi gathering, a 100-year vermilion fruit could increase their level of practice by 1 level in a few days. Even an ordinary person who did not practice could attain level 1 of Qi gathering in a few days after consuming a 100-year vermilion fruit. For anyone below level 6 of Qi gathering, a 1,000-year vermilion fruit could increase their level of practice by at least 1 level in a few days, and those with lower levels could even increase their level of practice by more than 2 levels. For anyone below level 9 of Qi gathering, a 10,000-year vermilion fruit could increase their level of practice by at least 1 level in a few days, and those with lower levels could even increase their level of practice by more than 4 levels. In the history of the country of Yunyang, a 10,000-year vermilion fruit had never appeared, and 1,000-year vermilion fruits had only appeared a few times. But the 100-year vermilion fruit was more common, and every time it appeared, it would cause a fight for it, even causing a bloodbath. It really is a 1,000-year vermilion fruit. Zhou Donghuang opened the brocade box that Freezing Wind had passed to him and saw a vermilion fruit, about the size of a baby's fist, giving off a refreshing aroma. In his previous life, when he had stood at the pinnacle of the universe, even a 10,000-year vermilion fruit would have been no different from an ordinary apple on earth to him, much less a 1,000-year vermilion fruit. But now, this 1,000-year vermilion fruit caused a slight ripple in his originally calm heart. "You must have attained level 3 of Qi gathering by now?" Zhou Donghuang asked Freezing Wind. Freezing Wind nodded. "Thanks to the 1,000-star sword technique and the Qi gathering elixir that young master taught me, I attained level 3 of Qi gathering 6 days ago. Since you recognize this 1,000-year vermilion fruit, it means that you know what it can do. If you consume it, your level of practice will be able to attain level 4 of Qi gathering, or even reach level 5 of Qi gathering." Zhou Donghuang looked deeply at Freezing Wind and said, "Actually, you can consume it privately to increase your level of practice." Zhou Donghuang knew very well how tempting the 1,000-year fruit was. Even if Freezing Wind did not consume the 1,000-year red fruit himself, he could give it to the Chu royal family, or even the imperial court of Yunyang country, and the Chu royal family and the imperial court of Yunyang country would not mistreat Freezing Wind. Young master must be joking. Freezing Wind shook his head, his eyes filled with determination. "You've given Freezing Wind a new lease on life. Freezing Wind has no way to repay you. This 1,000-year red fruit is just a small token of my appreciation. It's rare for you to be so considerate." Zhou Donghuang nodded. "Fortunately, you did not consume the 1,000-year fruit. Consuming it directly can only help one person increase their level of practice. If I use it as the main ingredient and combine it with some other medicinal ingredients to concoct a medicinal liquid, I will be able to concoct 10 bottles of medicinal liquid. Moreover, the medicinal effect of each bottle will not be any weaker than the medicinal effect of the medicinal liquid itself," Zhou Donghuang said. Freezing Wind was stunned by Zhou Donghuang's words. Didn't that mean that in the hands of his young master, a 1,000-year vermilion fruit was equivalent to 10,000-year vermilion fruits? "When I'm done concocting the medicinal liquid, I'll give you a bottle," Zhou Donghuang said again. "Young master, you should keep the medicinal liquid for yourself. This way your level of practice will definitely increase greatly," Freezing Wind said. Zhou Donghuang shook his head. "Concocting a medicinal liquid with the 1,000-year red fruit as the main ingredient will only be effective the first time. This is because after the first use, the body will develop a resistance to the medicine, and a second or even multiple uses will not help one's level of practice." As Freezing Wind left, Zhou Donghuang wrote a list for him to pass to Granny Lien. The medicinal ingredients on the list were the ones needed to concoct the medicinal liquid from the 1,000-year red fruit. They were not rare ingredients and could be easily gathered in the capital of Yunfeng Prefecture. That night, Granny Lien delivered the ingredients to Zhou Donghuang. Within an hour, Zhou Donghuang had concocted 10 bottles of medicinal liquid. "With this medicinal liquid, I will definitely attain level 5 of Qi gathering in 3 days." After concocting the medicinal liquid, Zhou Donghuang called Fu over and gave him 5 bottles of medicinal liquid. "Fu, of these 5 bottles of medicinal liquid, take 1 for yourself, and give the remaining 4 to my mother, Granny Lien, Freezing Wind and Lu Qinghu." "Young master, what medicinal liquid is this?" Fu asked curiously. "Aren't you about to attain level 2 of Qi gathering? Take this medicinal liquid and absorb all of its effects, and you will be able to attain level 3 of Qi gathering immediately." Zhou Donghuang smiled. Fu trusted Zhou Donghuang's words unconditionally, and because of this, he was stunned for a moment before recovering his wits, his face filled with joy. "Thank you, young master." Fu knelt down and kowtowed in thanks before turning to leave. Of the 10 bottles of medicinal liquid, Zhou Donghuang had given Fu 5 bottles and there were still 5 left. He consumed 1 bottle and began practicing. Based on Zhou Donghuang's 1,000 years of practice, he knew very well how to absorb the effects of the medicinal liquid as quickly as possible. Therefore, in just 1 day and 2 nights, he had completely absorbed the effects of the medicinal liquid and successfully attained level 5 of Qi gathering. Moreover, it was not as simple as just attaining level 5 of Qi gathering. With my current level of practice, with the help of the Qi gathering elixir that increases the sensitivity to Qi by 7 times, I will be able to attain level 6 of Qi gathering in at most 3 months. Who would have thought that freezing wind would be so lucky to even obtain a 1,000-year red fruit? This is a pleasant surprise. After attaining level 5 of Qi gathering, Zhou Donghuang did not continue practicing and walked out of his room. Ever since the opening of the Magnolia Guild, he had rarely left his room. Usually he ate and drank in his room, and apart from that he slept and practiced. I don't think I've had the chance to stroll around the capital city of Yunfeng Prefecture. With this thought, Zhou Donghuang walked towards the main entrance of the Magnolia Guild, preparing to go out for a walk. As he passed by the living room, Zhou Donghuang heard a familiar voice speaking to his mother Lin Lan. "Sister Lan, I'm so envious of you for having such a good son. He's only 17 but he's already a level 5 adept. Unlike this daughter of mine who is only a year younger than Donghuang, but has not even attained level 1 of Qi gathering." Hearing this, Zhou Donghuang guessed who the speaker was. It was obviously the guild master of the Qingyun Guild in Ningping Town, Li Yun, who had been a good friend of his mother for many years. And Li Yun was also Li Rui's mother. Compared to Li Rui, he had a much better impression of Li Yun. "Sister Yun, you flatter me. I haven't seen Xiao Rui for many years. She really has changed a lot and she's getting more and more beautiful." Lin Lan's voice followed. "Aunt Lan, you're still as beautiful as ever." Hearing Li Rui's voice, Zhou Donghuang could not help but smile mockingly. He had never thought that Li Rui would have the cheek to come with her mother to look for his mother. Now Zhou Donghuang was in no hurry to go out and he strode directly into the living room. "Aunt Yun." Standing beside Lin Lan, Zhou Donghuang smiled at Li Yun, who was standing with Li Rui. "Donghuang, you're here at the right time. It's rare for your Aunt Yun to come to the prefecture capital. Let's have lunch with your Aunt Yun and sister Xiao Rui this afternoon." Lin Lan looked at Zhou Donghuang dotingly and smiled as she said this. "All right." Zhou Donghuang nodded. "Donghuang, Aunt Yun really did not expect that a child like you could attain level 5 of Qi gathering at the age of 17. Even in the entire younger generation of the country of Yunyang, I'm afraid no one can compare to you." Li Yun smiled brightly as she praised him. As she spoke, Li Yun glanced at Li Rui beside her. Why are you just standing there not greeting anyone?" As soon as Li Yun finished speaking, Li Rui looked at Zhou Donghuang, blushing, and said bashfully, "Big brother Donghuang. You flatter me." Zhou Donghuang replied casually, no longer as enthusiastic as he had been with Li Yun. Noticing Zhou Donghuang's indifference to Li Rui, Lin Lan frowned slightly. "Donghuang, why are you speaking to your sister Xiao Rui like that?" "Mother, she doesn't like me and I can't possibly stick my face to her cold buttocks, can I?" Zhou Donghuang shook his head lightly. What's going on?" At this time, Lin Lan also vaguely realized that something unpleasant must have happened between her son and Li Rui. Otherwise, based on her understanding of her son, he would not have been so rude. "Aunt Lan, don't blame big brother Donghuang, it's all Xiao Rui's fault. Xiao Rui met big brother Donghuang earlier and angered him," Li Rui said with tears in her eyes, looking very pitiful. Just as Lin Lan's heart softened at Li Rui's appearance, Zhou Donghuang looked at Li Rui and smiled faintly. "Li Rui, you and Aunt Yun must have set off from Ningping Town together and just arrived at the prefecture capital. You haven't returned to the Li family yet, right?" Li Rui started, not knowing why Zhou Donghuang would suddenly ask this. She and her mother had indeed just arrived at the prefecture capital. Some time ago, after learning that Lin Lan's Magnolia Guild had reopened in the prefecture capital, she had made a trip back to Ningping Town and called her mother, Li Yun, to the prefecture capital to try to get close to Zhou Donghuang and mend their relationship under the guise of visiting Lin Lan. In Li Rui's opinion, with her beauty, if she took the initiative, she would definitely be able to make Zhou Donghuang grovel at her feet. "You probably don't know, 2 days ago that first mistress of the Li family returned?" Zhou Donghuang looked deeply at Li Rui and said unhurriedly, returning with her was the first young master of the Wu family, the governor's household of the intermediate prefecture, Guangling Prefecture, Wunanshuan. Tiske. If she knew that you, a collateral descendant of the Li family, was actually hanging out with me, the person who killed her brother, she would probably expel you from the Li family. As he spoke, Zhou Donghuang chuckled. His words caused Li Rui's expression to change drastically. Even Li Yun, who was standing beside Li Rui, had a complete change of expression. Just as Li Rui and Li Yun's expressions changed, Granny Lian's voice came from outside the hall. Mistress, the preeminent Li family is here. Leading them is the chief of the Li family, Li Jingyu. Chapter 68. Morning of March 27, 1228 of the Ziyun era. A carriage pulled by 3 Fergana horses was parked at the main entrance of the Magnolia Guild. On each side of the carriage, a middle-aged man riding a Fergana horse stood guard. In front of the carriage, another Fergana horse stood at the bottom of the steps leading to the main entrance of the guild. On this Fergana horse sat a handsome middle-aged man of medium build. He looked in the direction of the main entrance of the Magnolia Guild, his eyes filled with a cold, bloodthirsty hatred. The 6 Fergana horses looked majestic and insufferably arrogant. Because of this, when the 6 Fergana horses arrived, they attracted many onlookers. That carriage looks like it belongs to the son-in-law of the Li family, the first young master of the Wu family of the governor's household of Guangling Prefecture. The middle-aged man at the front is the chief of the Li family, Li Jingyu. Looks like the Li family is going to settle scores with Zhou Donghuang of the Magnolia Guild today. After all, the second young master of the Li family, Li Pingyun, died at Zhou Donghuang's hands. In the past, the Li family did not have the ability to take revenge and could only endure. Now that first young mistress of the Li family and the junior governor of the governor's household of Guangling Prefecture have returned, the Li family will definitely not give up on this opportunity. 2 days ago, when I heard that the junior governor of the governor's household of Guangling Prefecture had come, I knew that the Li family would definitely make trouble for Zhou Donghuang. It was only a matter of time. As time passed, the crowd grew, and the main road leading to the main entrance of the Magnolia Guild was completely packed. At the same time, the various preeminent families in the capital city of Yunfeng Prefecture, including the governor's household and the Zhao family, were also paying attention to the situation at the Magnolia Guild. They were all curious. Could Zhou Donghuang break out of this trap? Zhou Donghuang is out. Very quickly, the crowd of onlookers saw a handsome young man in white with an extraordinary aura walk out slowly with his hands behind his back from behind the main entrance of the Magnolia Guild. Behind the young man, 2 people walked out. It was the guild master of the Magnolia Guild, Lin Lan, and her old servant, Granny Lian. Young Master Donghuang. Just as Zhou Donghuang came out, the second master of the Lu family, Lu Bao, and a few elders of the Lu family behind him, bowed to Zhou Donghuang. Zhou Donghuang nodded slightly and walked to the front of the steps. His expression was calm as he looked at the middle-aged man riding a Fergana horse. Li Jingyu? Zhou Donghuang. Seeing Zhou Donghuang, the enemy who had killed his son, Li Jingyu, the patriarch of the Li family, could no longer control his emotions. Besides the rising murderous intent in his eyes, his handsome face had also become distorted. You killed my son Li Pingyun. Today my Li family will make you pay with your life. Li Jingyu's voice was bone-chilling, causing many of the onlookers to feel their hairs stand on end. With just your Li family? Zhou Donghuang shook his head and smiled disdainfully. His gaze fell on the carriage not far away. Or should I say, based on the helper that your Li family found? That's right. Our Li family's son-in-law, the young governor of Guangling Prefecture, Wu Nanshuan. Li Jingyu said proudly. Although he was puzzled to see that Zhou Donghuang had not panicked or lost his composure, he thought that Zhou Donghuang was just putting on an act and bluffing. So what if Zhou Donghuang was a level 5 adept? Could he possibly challenge the Wu family of the governor's household of Guangling Prefecture? The Wu family was a grand family with many level 6 adepts. Moreover, in his opinion, the 2 level 5 adepts by his son-in-law's side were enough to take down Zhou Donghuang easily. Looks like this son-in-law of yours has given you a lot of courage. You actually dare to challenge me, Zhou Donghuang. Zhou Donghuang smiled slightly. Zhou Donghuang. Just as Zhou Donghuang finished speaking, a shrill and angry voice sounded from within the carriage. Following that, a rather pretty girl dressed in gorgeous clothes walked out of the carriage. It was the first young lady of the Li family, Li Kaiyun. Seeing this, the driver hurriedly jumped off the carriage and sprawled on the ground, using his back as a ladder for Li Kaiyun. Li Kaiyun stepped off the carriage with a murderous look in her eyes as she glared at Zhou Donghuang. Today with Brother Sun here you will definitely die. Zhou Donghuang ignored her and looked at the person who had one foot out of the carriage behind Li Kaiyun. He said coldly, the junior governor of the governor's household of Guangling Prefecture? Today if you don't step out of the carriage you and I will be fine. But if you dare step out of the carriage and meddle in this matter, don't even think of leaving in one piece. Zhou Donghuang's words were a direct threat to the person who was about to step out of the carriage. It was the first young master of the governor's household of Guangling Prefecture, Wu Nanxuan. As soon as Zhou Donghuang said this, the crowd went wild. Zhou Donghuang is threatening the junior governor of the governor's household of Guangling Prefecture? My God! The Wu family of the governor's household of Guangling Prefecture is a grand family with many level 6 adepts. Does Zhou Donghuang think that the Wu family of the governor's household of Guangling Prefecture is as powerful as the Zhao family of the governor's household of Yunfeng Prefecture? Newborn calves really do not fear tigers. The crowd of onlookers whispered among themselves and shook their heads. They all felt that Zhou Donghuang was in deep trouble. In their eyes, Zhou Donghuang was a level 5 adept of qi gathering, and even the Zhao family of the governor's household of Yunfeng Prefecture was wary of him. But this time, it was someone from the governor's household of Guangling Prefecture, and it was the first young master of the Wu family, Wu Nanxuan. The governor's household of Yunfeng Prefecture, the Zhao family, was a preeminent family. But the governor's household of Guangling Prefecture, the Wu family, was a grand family with many level 6 adepts and no less than 20 level 5 adepts. A mere level 5 adept was not even worth mentioning in front of the grand Wu family. How dare you! The middle-aged men on the Fergana horses on both sides of the carriage glared at Zhou Donghuang, their eyes flashing with murderous intent. Interesting. At the same time, an angry laugh came from within the carriage. The person who had stopped instinctively because of Zhou Donghuang's words stepped out of the carriage. It was a young man dressed in a brocade robe. He was handsome and had an air of innate arrogance about him. The moment he appeared, he became the center of attention. He is the first young master of the governor's household of Guangling Prefecture, Wu Nanxuan? No wonder he is the first young master of a grand family. His aura is so strong that even the young masters of preeminent families cannot compare to him. After Wu Nanxuan stepped out of the carriage, the two middle-aged men on the Fergana horses on both sides of the carriage also dismounted and followed behind Wu Nanxuan. Brother Sun, this Zhou Donghuang does not seem to care about you and the Wu family at all. In my opinion, we can't let him die so easily today. Let's torture him first before killing him. Li Kaiyun held Wu Nanxuan's hand as she spoke coquettishly. As she spoke, she looked at Zhou Donghuang, her eyes filled with murderous intent. However, Wu Nanxuan did not respond to her. He took a few steps forward and looked calmly at Zhou Donghuang. He said casually, Zhou Donghuang, you are only 17 years old, but you are already a level 5 adept. I have to say your martial talent is not bad. However, this genius of yours will only live to this day. As he spoke, there was a hint of jealousy in the depths of Wu Nanxuan's eyes, besides the murderous intent. A kid who came from a small town was actually more talented in martial arts than him. Wasn't this showing that he, the young master of a wealthy family, was useless? I gave you a chance. Zhou Donghuang glanced at Wu Nanxuan. However, since you did not cherish it, then don't blame me. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhou Donghuang moved without any warning. With a strange footwork, he shot out like a cannonball towards the chief of the Li family, Li Jingyu, who was closest to him. Whoosh! Zhou Donghuang's speed was extremely fast. He flew in front of Li Jingyu and landed a palm on his head. Only then did Li Jingyu react. His eyes narrowed and his expression changed. However, this was the last expression Li Jingyu had in his life. Bang! With just one palm, Zhou Donghuang had killed Li Jingyu on his horse. Li Jingyu's body fell off the horse and fell to the ground, completely lifeless. Li Jingyu, the chief of the preeminent Li family of Yunfeng Prefecture, a level 4 adept, had been killed in the blink of an eye. He had not even had a chance to attack. When this scene appeared before the eyes of the spectators, they were once again dumbstruck. This Zhou Donghuang is so strong. Too strong. He killed a level 4 adept like he was killing a dog. Even among level 5 adepts of qi gathering, his ability would probably be considered strong, right? I wonder if the men brought by the first young master of the Wu family of the governor's household of Guangling Prefecture are a match for him. The two men accompanying the first young master of the Wu family seem to be level 5 adepts. 2 against 1, how could they not defeat Zhou Donghuang? Many people's gazes fell on the two middle-aged men behind Wu Nanxuan. In an instant they realized, after witnessing Zhou Donghuang kill the chief of the Li family, Li Jingyu, with one palm, the indifferent expressions on the two middle-aged men's faces turned serious. "Father!" Li Kaiyun cried out as she regained her composure. She looked at Zhou Donghuang coldly as if she could not wait to tear Zhou Donghuang into pieces. "Brother Sun, avenge my father. Avenge my father," Li Kaiyun said to Wu Nanxuan anxiously. She did not want to see Zhou Donghuang alive for even a moment longer. Seeing that Zhou Donghuang had killed his father-in-law right in front of him, Wu Nanxuan felt as if his dignity had been completely trampled on, and his face was so dark that it seemed as if it could drip water. "Uncle Feng, Uncle Lang, kill him." Chapter 69. Auntie, he was the one who threw me out just now. Lian Ping stared coldly at Fu as he spoke to the elegant and beautiful woman in front of him. The beautiful lady's gaze swept past Fu's face and landed directly on Zhou Donghuang, and a smile appeared on her face. "Young master, I am the lady boss of Liuxiang restaurant, Lian Feng. How should I address you?" Originally, when she had found out that this young man's servant, who was not even 20 years old, had been able to defeat her nephew, she had guessed that this young man had an extraordinary background. Now, seeing the young man with her own eyes, the extraordinary aura he exuded made her feel that he had a powerful background. Because of this, she was very careful and polite with her words. "Zhou Donghuang." Zhou Donghuang raised his head slowly and glanced at Lian Feng before lowering his head again and continuing to eat the dishes on the table. From start to finish, his expression was calm and unperturbed. "So it's young Master Donghuang." Lian Feng's smile deepened. "I wonder where did young Master Donghuang come from?" At the same time, Lian Feng started to recall in her mind which families with the surname Zhou were in the country of Yunyang. However, after thinking for a long time, she could not think of any family with the surname Zhou. From the Yunyang imperial court to the preeminent families, there was not a single family with the surname Zhou. Yunfeng Prefecture. This time, hearing Lian Feng's question, Zhou Donghuang replied calmly without even lifting his head. As he spoke, he called out to Fu, "Fu, hurry up and eat. We'll leave after eating." "Yes, young master." Fu replied and joined in the sweeping party. Zhou Donghuang and Fu, master and servant, ate the dishes on the table as if there was no one else around, completely ignoring Lian Feng, Lian Ping and the rest. Yunfeng Prefecture? Lian Feng frowned. Wasn't Yunfeng Prefecture just an inferior prefecture? Her eldest nephew, the first young master of the Wu family in the governor's household of Guangling Prefecture, Wu Nanxuan, had married the young mistress of a preeminent family in Yunfeng Prefecture as a concubine. To her, Yunfeng Prefecture was a small place where even birds wouldn't take a shit. Even the governor of Yunfeng Prefecture did not dare to be presumptuous in front of Lian Feng. "Young Master Donghuang, you must have passed by Yunfeng Prefecture and come to our Guangling Prefecture? You don't look like someone who was born and raised in that inferior prefecture." Lian Feng was very patient. She smiled and probed further. "What? Are you looking down on us from Yunfeng Prefecture?" Zhou Donghuang finally had his fill. He put down the bowl and chopsticks in his hands, raised his head, and glanced at Lian Feng with an amused expression. "Are you really from Yunfeng Prefecture?" Lian Feng's expression froze as she stared into Zhou Donghuang's eyes. Until now, she still could not believe that this young man had come from a small place like Yunfeng Prefecture. "I guarantee it's genuine," Zhou Donghuang replied calmly. "Aunt, you're being too cautious. Even if he has a powerful evil slave by his side, what kind of background can he have?" Hearing that Zhou Donghuang was from Yunfeng Prefecture, Lian Ping's gaze had turned even colder. Now, hearing Zhou Donghuang's response to Lian Feng, he could not help but stand up and say to Lian Feng, "Aunt, he was the one who allowed his evil slave to throw me out of this booth just now. You have to seek justice for me." As he spoke, Lian Ping's eyes turned red as he looked at Lian Feng, and he spoke through gritted teeth. At the same time, Lian Feng's expression turned icy cold. "Sir, you are eating at Liuxiang restaurant, but you bullied my nephew. Don't you think you owe me an explanation?" After receiving Zhou Donghuang's confirmation twice and confirming that Zhou Donghuang was from Yunfeng Prefecture, Lian Feng no longer felt that Zhou Donghuang had any powerful background. Just as her nephew Lian Ping had said, what kind of background could a person from an inferior prefecture have? As such, there was no need for her to be so cautious or fearful. She even felt that she had lowered her status by being so respectful to a person from an inferior prefecture. The more she thought about it, the more disgusted she became, and unknowingly she became even more resentful. Because of this, hearing Lian Ping's words, Lian Feng's expression changed completely. Give you an explanation? Zhou Donghuang looked at Lian Feng meaningfully and smiled. Why don't you ask me? Why did I ask my servant to throw your nephew out? Lian Feng sneered. I, Lian Feng, am the lady boss of Liuxiang restaurant. My nephew naturally has the right to use the sky room first. Since the dishes haven't been served yet, you should be sensible enough to give up the sky room if I ask you to. In fact, with just a word from me, I can blacklist you and make you unable to enter Liuxiang restaurant for the rest of your life. Lian Feng said in a low voice. Your husband is Wu Jingtao? Zhou Donghuang asked suddenly. That's right. Lian Feng nodded. My husband is not only the owner of Liuxiang restaurant, but also the second master of the Wu family in the governor's household of Guangling Prefecture, a level 6 adept. Today he is not here, or you won't be leaving here alive. As she spoke, Lian Feng looked at Zhou Donghuang with a chilling glint in her eyes. Is that so? Zhou Donghuang laughed. That Wu Jingtao is so overbearing? I really couldn't tell. You know my husband? Lian Feng frowned. Not really, but we've met once. Zhou Donghuang said lightly. Meanwhile, Lian Ping spoke from the side. Don't forget that I told you earlier. This evil slave by his side made a clamor in front of me earlier, and he said that even if uncle was here, he wouldn't dare be presumptuous before the youth of his family. I forgot about that. Only then did Lian Feng remember what Lian Ping had said to her, and a layer of frost appeared on her face. When she looked at Zhou Donghuang again, her gaze became even colder. You hurt my nephew in Liuxiang restaurant, and you dare to belittle and slander my second master, the owner of Liuxiang restaurant. Today, if you and your servant do not leave something behind, don't even think of leaving. Lian Feng's eyes flashed coldly as if ready to devour Zhou Donghuang. Zhou Donghuang's expression was still calm as he asked meaningfully, Then what do you want us to leave behind? Before Lian Feng could speak, Lian Ping had already spoken, his tone cold. Leave behind one of your legs. You mean the same thing? Zhou Donghuang's eyes narrowed slightly as he looked at Lian Feng, his tone cold. Lian Feng's eyes flashed. My nephew's wishes are my wishes. As soon as she finished speaking, Lian Feng ordered in a low voice, Wu Gan, break one of each of their legs, then throw them out of the lingering fragrance restaurant. Yes, madam. The middle-aged man behind Lian Feng was Wu Gan, a collateral descendant of the Wu family whom second master Wu Jingtao had arranged to protect Lian Feng. After Wu Gan acknowledged respectfully, he looked at Zhou Donghuang and Fu with a piercing gaze. Then he stepped forward towards them, his footsteps becoming faster and faster. As Wu Gan moved, Zhou Donghuang could tell that although his ability was not bad, he had not attained level 5 of Qi Gathering, and such an opponent would be a good training ground for Fu. Although Fu's ability was not bad now, he lacked combat experience and needed to be tempered by sparring. This Wu Gan would be a good touchstone for Fu. Almost as soon as Zhou Donghuang finished speaking, Fu had already left his seat and used the star-stepping footwork to meet Wu Gan. Looking at his footwork, it was much more awkward than Zhou Donghuang's star-stepping footwork. Even so, Fu's speed was already comparable to the speed of his opponent's lesser-grade swiftness technique. In an instant, the two of them closed in on each other and began to cross swords. In the beginning, Fu had fallen into a slight disadvantage. However, after around 10 breaths of time, Fu had gradually turned his disadvantage into an advantage, and he'd completely suppressed his opponent. This scene made Lian Feng and the others more and more shocked. Wu Gan was a level 4 adept, and not just any ordinary level 4 adept. He was publicly acknowledged as the number 1 level 4 adept in the Wu family of the governor's household of Guangling Prefecture. It was precisely because of this that the second master of the Wu family, Wu Jingtao, had sent him to protect Lian Feng. Bang! Another dozen or so breaths passed. Fu, who had become more and more skilled in using star-stepping steps and weighted sand palm, moved in a mysterious manner and seized the chance to land a palm strike on Wu Qian's chest. He forced Wu Qian back, injured him and won. Madam, I am no match for him. Blood flowed from the corner of Wu Gan's mouth as he said to Lian Feng with a bitter smile. I can see that. Lian Feng's expression was dark and she said to the servant behind her, You, go back to the governor's household and get second master here. After the servant had left, Lian Feng looked at the two of them, her gaze icy cold. Don't even think of using this opportunity to escape. Even if you leave Liuxiang restaurant and leave the capital city of Guangling Prefecture, you will not be able to escape from the hands of the Wu family. The Wu family is the governor's household of Guangling Prefecture. Young master. Fu ignored Lian Feng and looked at Zhou Donghuang, asking respectfully, now that we have finished eating, shall we leave now or later? Later, Zhou Donghuang said calmly. Zhou Donghuang said lightly. Now he was in no hurry to leave. He wanted to see how Lian Feng's husband, Wu Jingtao, chief Wu of the governor's household of Guangling Prefecture, would explain this to him. Besides, when he saw Fu defeat Wu Gan, he suddenly remembered something that he could ask Wu Jingtao to do. At least you know your place. Chapter 70. The governor's household of Guangling Prefecture. The Wu family household. Big brother, I'll take my leave first. After Wu Jingtao had bandaged the wound on his right hand at the residence of his big brother, Wu Wentao, he conversed with Wu Wentao for about an hour before taking his leave. The content of their conversation revolved around the young man in white who had demonstrated his prowess in the drawing room of the Wu family an hour ago. A mere 17-year-old youth possessing power that surpassed that of an ordinary level 7 adept was an unprecedented shock to them. Because of this, they had reached a consensus. Even if they could not be friends with that youth, they could not be enemies. Second master. Not long after Wu Jingtao left, on the way back to his residence, he ran into the personal servant of his wife, Lian Feng. The servant was in a hurry, her face flustered as if she had run into some urgent matter. What's the matter? Where's madam? Wu Jingtao frowned slightly as he looked at the servant who was hurrying up to him. As far as he could remember, this servant girl was practically inseparable from his wife, Lian Feng. But now she had left his wife and was in such a hurry. Clearly something had happened. Second master, madam is at Liuxiang restaurant, the servant said hurriedly. Madam asked me to invite you over. Someone is causing trouble at Liuxiang restaurant, and brother Wu Gan has been defeated. Madam asked me to invite you over. Someone is causing trouble? Wu Gan has been defeated. Almost as soon as the maidservant finished speaking, Wu Jingtao's expression changed completely. Then, with a flash of his body, he disappeared from the maidservant's line of sight like a feather. Who is so bold as to cause trouble at the Liuxiang restaurant of the Wu family of the governor's household? As Wu Jingtao hurried in the direction of Liuxiang restaurant, his eyes flashed with a cold light, and he swore to himself, no matter who it is, whoever dares to cause trouble at Liuxiang restaurant can forget about leaving in one piece. An hour ago, although Wu Jingtao had been utterly humiliated by that youth, deep in his heart, he had still harbored a great deal of resentment. Now that he knew that someone was causing trouble at Liuxiang restaurant, the resentment he had hidden in his heart suddenly burst forth, and he could not control it. Right now Wu Jingtao was furious and he needed someone to bear his anger. It just so happened that someone had come to the Liuxiang restaurant to cause trouble. He was prepared to vent his anger on the other party to get rid of the shock he had received from the white-robed youth today. Liuxiang restaurant. In the heavenly private room. Zhou Donghuang sat in front of the table with his legs crossed and one hand on the table. From time to time, his index and middle fingers would tap the table irregularly. His expression was calm as he waited patiently. Fu stood respectfully behind Zhou Donghuang, occasionally looking at the three people standing at the door with a mocking and cold gaze. Of the four people who had come with Lian Feng, other than Lian Ping and Wu Gan, the servant girl had left on Lian Feng's orders, and the chief steward of Yunxian restaurant, Huang Xiong, had been assigned by Lian Feng to manage the affairs of Liuxiang restaurant. The remaining three people stood guard at the entrance of the heavenly room. We should be arriving soon, right? Lian Feng silently calculated the time and thought to herself. In practically 10 breaths of time after Lian Feng had this thought, a gloomy and furious voice resounded from outside the heaven room. Who dares to cause trouble in the Wu family's Liuxiang restaurant? Although the door was closed, the people inside could still hear the anger in the voice. Bang! With a loud crash, the door to the private room was smashed open, and a thin ramrod-straight figure appeared before everyone's eyes. With just one look, Zhou Donghuang and Fu recognized him. The person who had come was none other than the second master of the Wu family of the Guangling Prefecture governor's household, Wu Jingtao. Second master. Lian Feng was the first to greet the newcomer. Wu Gan, who was behind her, also bowed to the newcomer respectfully. Uncle. Lian Ping also came forward, looking excitedly at the newcomer. At the same time, he seemed to have a strong self-confidence, as if Wu Jingtao's appearance had given him a new lease on life. Second master, how did your hand get injured? Lian Feng's expression changed slightly when she saw her husband's bandaged right hand. It's nothing, just a small injury. Seeing Lian Feng, Wu Jingtao's originally angry expression became much calmer, and he forced a smile. Then, as if remembering something, his expression changed and he said coldly, "Who dares to cause trouble in the Wu family's Liuxiang restaurant?" Without waiting for Lian Feng and the others to speak, Wu Jingtao's gaze had already swept past Wu Gan and Lian Ping, who were behind Lian Feng, and landed on the youth sitting in the private room and the youth standing behind him. The moment he saw the two, Wu Jingtao's eyes narrowed, and his ugly expression froze. "Uncle." Almost at the same time that Wu Jingtao looked at Zhou Donghuang and Fu, Lian Ping had already walked forward. As he turned to look at Zhou Donghuang and Fu, he said angrily, "It's them. Not only did they throw me out of the private room, but they also did not give Aunt any face and injured Uncle Wu Gan." "Uncle you." Just as Lian Ping was about to shout out in anger and further provoke Wu Jingtao's anger, he was interrupted by a crisp slap on the face before he could finish speaking. Without any warning, Wu Jingtao raised his hand and slapped Lian Ping across the face, interrupting him. "Uncle, Uncle?" Half of Lian Ping's face was swollen, and his eyes were filled with confusion. He had no idea why his uncle had suddenly hit him. Whoosh! Just now, Lian Feng had noticed that her husband had been looking at Zhou Donghuang and Fu strangely. Now, seeing her husband slap Lian Ping, her expression changed and she finally understood. The youth in white did know her husband. Moreover, her husband did seem to be very afraid of him. He was lying to us just now? At that moment, Lian Feng thought that the youth in white had deliberately lied to them, saying that he was from the inferior Yunfeng prefecture. She did not think that her husband would be afraid of someone from a small, inferior prefecture. Young Master Donghuang." After slapping Lian Ping across the face, Wu Jingtao's anger was extinguished in an instant. With a nervous look and a bitter smile, he bowed to Zhou Donghuang and said, I didn't know it was you." Seeing this, Lian Ping's expression changed. Although he was a spoiled brat, he was not stupid, and he could naturally see his uncle's fear of Zhou Donghuang. Facing Wu Jingtao, Zhou Donghuang only looked at him calmly, smiling faintly. Behind Zhou Donghuang, Fu laughed coldly. "Second master of the Wu family, how impressive. This nephew of yours and your wife just threatened to break one of my young master's legs and throw us out of the Liuxiang restaurant." Just as Fu finished speaking, Wu Jingtao felt his vision darken, and he almost fainted from fright. His nephew Lian Ping and his wife, Lian Feng, had actually threatened to break one of Zhou Donghuang's legs? Now, even his elder brother, the governor of Guangling Prefecture and chief of the Grand Wu family, Wu Wentao, did not dare to say such things to Zhou Donghuang. Bitch! Without any hesitation, the moment Wu Jingtao looked at Lian Feng again, his eyes flashed with reluctance and determination. Then he kicked out and broke one of Lian Feng's legs with a crack. Lian Feng let out a muffled groan as she did so. Lian Feng's beautiful features were almost twisted together, and her entire body trembled violently. Then she fell to the ground, sitting on her butt. Obviously, she was enduring the excruciating pain from her broken leg. Seeing this, even Zhou Donghuang could not help but raise his eyebrows, surprised at the endurance of a mere woman like Lian Feng. "Uncle, don't." When Lian Ping saw Wu Jingtao walk up to him in 2 or 3 steps, he seemed to realize something. His expression changed drastically and he was so frightened that he took a step back. Crack. Ah! As Lian Ping followed in Lian Feng's footsteps, he fell to the ground and screamed like a pig being slaughtered. It was only when Wu Jingtao spoke coldly that he forced himself not to scream again. "If you scream again, I'll kill you, you little bastard." It was Wu Jingtao's words that frightened Lian Ping so much that he did not dare to scream again. His body trembled from the excruciating pain, and he broke out in a cold sweat. "Young Master Donghuang, are you satisfied with my punishment?" After breaking Lian Feng and Lian Ping's legs with lightning speed, Wu Jingtao once again bowed to Zhou Donghuang, his tone filled with unease and unease. The scene of this youth showing off his might in the drawing room of the Wu family household an hour ago was still fresh in his mind. Later, when he had been bandaging his wounds at his elder brother Wu Wentao's place, he and his elder brother had come to the same conclusion. This youth was at least a level 7 adept of Qi gathering, and not just any ordinary level 7 adept, but an elite among level 7 adepts. Such a being was not someone the Wu family could afford to offend. Therefore, when he found out that his beloved wife and beloved nephew had offended the other party, he didn't hesitate to punish the 2 of them, hoping to quench the other party's anger. Under Wu Jingtao's uneasy gaze, Zhou Donghuang rose from his seat and walked out of the heavenly booth with Fu. Seeing this, Wu Jingtao breathed a sigh of relief, knowing that the youth did not intend to pursue the matter further. Just then Zhou Donghuang's calm voice rang out from outside the booth. I'll give you 15 minutes to settle your affairs, then be our carriage driver for a trip to the Chu royal city. Zhou Donghuang's words were obviously directed at Wu Jingtao. Hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, both Lian Feng and Lian Ping seemed to forget their pain at that moment, and they subconsciously looked at Wu Jingtao. To let the second master of the Wu family of the governor's household of Guangling Prefecture be their carriage driver? Wasn't this humiliating? Wu Jingtao answered bitterly, yes, young Master Donghuang. Chapter 71. When Zhou Donghuang had asked Wu Jingtao to be his carriage driver, Lian Feng and Lian Ping had felt that it was a great humiliation, and Wu Jingtao would never agree. But what Wu Jingtao said next made them completely dumbfounded. Second master, you, Lian Feng looked at Wu Jingtao in disbelief. As Wu Jingtao's wife, she knew him better than anyone else. Wu Jingtao's pride was so strong that he would rather die than be humiliated like this. I'm sorry. Wu Jingtao looked at Lian Feng's broken leg with a pained expression. She was his wife and he doted on her all the time. If there was no need, he would never have hit her. I knew my limits when I hit you and Ping. As long as you recuperate, your legs will recover in a year and a half. As Wu Jingtao spoke, he helped Lian Feng and Lian Ping reattach their broken bones. He was an intermediate-level medicine master, and it was easy for him to treat such injuries. Hearing Wu Jingtao's words, Lian Ping's eyes lit up, and he asked while enduring the pain in his leg, "Uncle, what is Zhou Donghuang's background? Why are you so afraid of him?" At Lian Ping's question, Lian Feng also looked at Wu Jingtao with the same puzzled expression. He has no background. Thinking of what his nephew Wu Nanshuan had said about Zhou Donghuang's background, Wu Jingtao shook his head with a bitter smile. No background? Lian Ping and Lian Feng were stunned. He was born and raised in Yunfeng Prefecture. What background could he have? Even the governor of Yunfeng Prefecture would not dare to stand in front of me if I asked him to kneel. Wu Jingtao sighed. Is he really from Yunfeng Prefecture? Lian Feng was dumbfounded, and Lian Ping also stared blankly at Wu Jingtao, his eyes and face full of disbelief. After a while, Lian Ping regained his composure and asked, "Uncle, if he has no background, why are you so afraid of him?" He has no background. Wu Jingtao's eyes flashed and he said in a low voice, "But he is a level 7 adept, and not an ordinary level 7 adept. What background do you think such a person needs in front of me?" Wu Jingtao asked Lian Ping in return. What? This time, not only were Lian Ping and Lian Feng dumbfounded, even Wu Gan was dumbfounded. That youth who looked no older than 16 or 17 was actually a level 7 adept of qi gathering. Impossible. Lian Ping shook his head. How old is he? How could he be a level 7 adept? Uncle, are you mistaken? Am I mistaken? Wu Jingtao raised his right hand and looked at the bandage around his thumb and forefinger. The wound on my hand was left by him an hour ago. While Lian Feng and the others were still in a daze, Wu Jingtao looked at Lian Feng and continued. An hour ago, I was injured by him in the living room of the Wu clan's mansion. Then Big Brother, Uncle Fan and the Grand Elder joined forces and sent Big Brother and the Grand Elder flying with 2 spear strikes. They lost the ability to fight again. At that time, he was sitting in the armchair in the living room when he attacked us. Although Uncle Fan withstood his first spear strike, he was also injured. Later, he stood up from his seat, and with 1 spear strike, Uncle Fan was sent flying through the wall more than 10 meters before he fainted. Now, the wall in the living room has not even been repaired. Every word that Wu Jingtao said caused the hearts of Lian Feng and the others to tremble violently. Even when Wu Jingtao finished speaking, they still had not recovered from their shock. Although Wu Jingtao's words were unbelievable. But they knew that Wu Jingtao had no reason to lie. Uncle Fan is recognized as the most powerful adept in Guangling Prefecture, and he has mastered the 3rd-grade defensive technique, Cold Iron Raiment. His defense is so strong that no one in Guangling Prefecture can break it, and yet he is no match for him? Lian Feng was pale with fright. Thinking of how arrogant she had been in front of her opponent, she even began to rejoice that she had escaped with her life. Otherwise, why would I say that he is not an ordinary level 7 adept? Wu Jingtao smiled bitterly. Uncle, why did he go to the governor's household? And he even fought with you. Lian Ping thought of this crucial question. He came back with Sun. Wu Jingtao's eyes flashed, and he recounted everything that had happened to Wu Nanshuan in Yunfeng Prefecture. He attacked us probably to establish his dominance so that we would not dare to take revenge on his family. But I did not expect that after establishing his dominance, he would come to Liuxiang restaurant for a meal and even clash with you. As he spoke, Wu Jingtao could not help but sigh. As for Lian Feng, Lian Ping and Wu Gan, they were still immersed in what had happened to Wu Nanxuan, unable to recover for a long time. Wu Nanxuan, the young governor of the governor's household of Guangling Prefecture, the pride of Guangling Prefecture, had his meridians destroyed on a trip to Yunfeng Prefecture? At this moment, Lian Ping finally realized how lucky he was, and he broke out in a cold sweat. Compared to Wu Nanxuan, his leg injury, which could be healed, was nothing. If I was alone and he asked me to be his coachman, given my temper, I would rather die than comply. But I still have the Wu clan behind me. If he asked me to be his coachman, I wouldn't dare to refuse. It was precisely because he was worried that the youth would vent his anger on the governor's household of Guangling Prefecture that Wu Jingtao had no choice but to agree to his request. Second master, for the sake of the family, we have wronged you. Lian Feng sighed. Uncle, he won't take revenge on me again, will he? Lian Ping asked worriedly. If he wanted to take revenge on you, he would not have left. I think my attack on you just now should have appeased his anger. Wu Jingtao shook his head, and after giving Lian Feng some instructions, he left Liuxiang restaurant to look for the youth. Of course, before he left, Wu Jingtao repeatedly warned Lian Feng and Lian Ping not to think about going to Yunfeng Prefecture to take revenge on the youth's family, or the Wu family and the Lian family would be in trouble. Lian Feng and Lian Ping had long been scared out of their wits when they found out that Wu Nanxuan had been destroyed by the youth, and that the governor's household of Guangling Prefecture had to swallow their anger. They did not dare to have any thoughts of taking revenge on the youth. Previously, in the heavenly booth of Liuxiang restaurant, Zhou Donghuang had planned to ask Wu Jingtao to find 2 capable disciples of the Wu family to be his carriage driver on the way to the Chu royal city. Although Fu could also drive the carriage, it would affect his practice. Therefore, he had decided to find someone else to drive the carriage. After Wu Jingtao had arrived, he felt that in the Wu family, besides other level 6 adepts of Qi gathering, there was no one more suitable than Wu Jingtao to be his carriage driver. With Wu Jingtao's ability, if he were to be his carriage driver, it would save him a lot of trouble on the way to the Chu royal city. This way, he would be able to practice the Lord of the Four Supremes without any distractions. In that state, his practice would progress rapidly, and he might even be able to successfully attain level 7 of Qi gathering before he reached the Chu royal city. On the way here from the capital of Yunfeng Prefecture, I have been practicing the Lord of the Four Supremes for a month. Without any distractions, my training speed has been increasing. Even now that I am in the capital of Guangling Prefecture, my training speed is still increasing. That is to say, my practice speed has not reached its limit. From the capital city of Guangling Prefecture all the way to the Chu royal city, even with 3 Fergana horses pulling the carriage, it will still take at least 4 months. If my practice speed can continue to increase during this process, by the time I reach the Chu royal city, let alone level 7 of Qi gathering, I might even have attained level 8 of Qi gathering. A conservative estimate of level 7 of Qi gathering is that if I practice without any distractions for 2 months, my practice speed will increase to its limit. At this thought, Zhou Donghuang's eyes were filled with anticipation. The so-called no distractions didn't mean that one couldn't stop cultivating. Instead, it meant that one couldn't be distracted by other things during the process of interrupting cultivation. If it was just eating or resting, it wouldn't affect the state of being able to cultivate without distractions. Just like the last time when he had arrived at the capital city of Guangling Prefecture, that state of practice without distractions had been forcibly interrupted. Now, if he wanted to enter that state of practice again, he would have to start all over again. The Lord of the Four Supremes is only a technique that can be practiced up to the primordial soul stage, but in terms of techniques for the Qi gathering stage, it is more than enough to crush any technique that I know of in the 10,000 races of the universe. Sitting in the carriage, Zhou Donghuang's eyes flashed, and he thought to himself, if not for the fact that the Lord of the Four Supremes can only be practiced to the primordial soul stage, based on the wonders of the practice method for the Qi gathering stage and the power of the primal core stage, it would not be an exaggeration to call it the best practice method in the universe. It was just as Zhou Donghuang had thought. With Wu Jingtao personally driving the carriage, the rest of the journey was very peaceful. About 20 days later, the carriage left Guangling Prefecture and entered the superior level prefecture between Guangling Prefecture and the Chu royal city. It then traveled through the superior level prefecture for a whole 2 months before leaving the superior level prefecture and arriving near the Chu royal city. This speed could be said to be the limit for a carriage. The efficiency of 3 Fergana horses pulling the carriage was the same as that of more than 3 Fergana horses pulling the carriage. Otherwise, as the junior governor of the Guangling Prefecture, Wu Nanshuan would not have taken this carriage pulled by 3 Fergana horses to Yunfeng Prefecture. With his status, it would be easy for him to get 8 or 10 Fergana horses to pull the carriage. Because of this, before leaving the capital city of Guangling Prefecture, Zhou Donghuang did not ask Wu Jingtao to add a few more Fergana horses to the carriage as there was no point. Young Master Donghuang, the Chu royal city is just ahead. On September 9, 1228 of the Ziyun era, the carriage pulled by 3 Fergana horses, driven by Wu Jingtao, finally arrived at the gates of the Chu royal city. The day of departure from the capital city of Guangling Prefecture was May 3, 1228 of the Ziyun era. Chapter 72. This was the second time Wu Jingtao had come to the Chu royal city in his life, and the first time he had been filled with curiosity and yearning. But this time there was only relief. Young Master Donghuang, we have arrived at the Chu royal city. Can I return to Guangling Prefecture? Wu Jingtao asked uneasily as he turned to look at the carriage outside the main gates of the Chu royal city. Inside the carriage, Fu glanced at the white-robed youth beside him, who was completely engrossed in his cultivation. Seeing that there was no reaction from him, he pulled open the curtains and walked out. My young master is still cultivating. If you want to leave, then leave. Just leave the carriage to me. Fu sat by Wu Jingtao's side and took the reins from his hands as he spoke calmly. Hearing Fu's words, Wu Jingtao smiled as if a heavy burden had been lifted from his shoulders, and he immediately got off the carriage, leapt onto the back of the Fergana horse following behind, turned the horse around and galloped away without looking back. It was as if he was fleeing for his life. The Fergana horse that Wu Jingtao was riding was the one that he had brought along with him, and he had planned to use it on the return journey. After Wu Jingtao left, Fu steered the carriage towards the main gates of the Chu royal city. As the largest city in the western ridge of the Chu king, the Chu royal city was like a giant beast lying on the vast expanse of land, giving off a majestic aura. And this was a characteristic that the other cities in the western ridge of the Chu king did not have. Young master has not awoken from his practice, so let's go into the Chu royal city and find an inn to stay at. When young master wakes up, we will see what young master plans to do next. Fu was no longer the ignorant youth of the past in the small town. After following Zhou Donghuang for so long, he had become much more mature and reliable. A carriage pulled by 3 Fergana horses was not rare even in the prefecture capitals of the intermediate prefectures, and naturally did not attract much attention in the royal city. Even as he walked through the endless stream of carriages in the Chu royal city, in just 15 minutes, Fu had already seen several carriages pulled by 3 Fergana horses. When Zhou Donghuang, who was sitting cross-legged in the carriage, woke up from his training, night had already fallen. The carriage stopped at the back of an inn in the Chu royal city where carriages were specially reserved for guests. Although Fu had already opened the door to the guest room, he still stood guard outside the carriage, afraid that someone would disturb his young master's practice. Fu, what about Wu Jingtao? Zhou Donghuang stopped practicing and walked out of the carriage. He found that only Fu was there and Wu Jingtao was nowhere to be seen. Young master, when we were outside the Chu royal city, Wu Jingtao stopped the carriage and asked you if he could return to Guangling Prefecture. At the time, you were practicing, so I took over the carriage and let him return. Fu said. Why are you in such a hurry to return? Zhou Donghuang's eyes narrowed, and his lips curled into a mocking smile. I had originally intended to give him a third-grade sword technique before he returns, on account of the fact that he has been my driver for 4 months. Now it seems that I have saved that trouble. Fu was taken aback at first, and then he could not help but shake his head and laugh. If Wu Jingtao knew about your plans, he would definitely regret it so much that his intestines would turn green. Young master, I have already opened the door to your guest room. I will take you there now. Fu informed Zhou Donghuang and led the way, bringing Zhou Donghuang back to the guest room he had booked earlier. Fu, rest early tonight. Come with me tomorrow morning, Zhou Donghuang said to Fu, who was standing outside the door. Zhou Donghuang said to Fu, who was standing outside the door before closing the door. Yes, young master, Fu replied respectfully. Fu replied respectfully. After his young master closed the door, he returned to the other room next door. After closing the door, Zhou Donghuang did not continue practicing. Instead, he lay on the bed and stared at the ceiling, deep in thought. Just as I had guessed, practicing the Lord of the Four Supremes without any distractions does not increase the speed of practice infinitely. After practicing the Lord of the Four Supremes without any distractions for 2 months, the speed of practice has already increased to the limit. However, in the next 2 months, with the extreme speed of practice, my level of practice was just as I had guessed, and I successfully attained level 7 of Qi Gathering. 7 days ago, Zhou Donghuang had successfully attained level 7 of Qi Gathering and become a level 7 adept with the strength of 7 bulls. 4 months ago, in the prefecture capital of Guangling Prefecture, he was only a level 5 adept of Qi Gathering. In a short span of 4 months, he had achieved 2 consecutive breakthroughs and become a level 7 adept. Now that I have attained level 7 of Qi Gathering, I can wield second-grade techniques as I please. I can even manage to wield first-grade techniques that are extremely powerful and domineering. For Zhou Donghuang, his improvement to level 7 of Qi Gathering was not as simple as his Qi. Only when one had enough true Qi could they display even more powerful martial arts. In the 1,000 years of memories from his previous life, he had seen countless techniques used by adepts of the Qi Gathering, so he had no shortage of techniques. What he lacked now was the strength to display those martial arts. Early the next morning, Zhou Donghuang left the inn with Fu and weaved through the heavy traffic on the streets of the Chu royal city. As long as he saw a medicine shop, Zhou Donghuang would bring Fu in. In the morning, after visiting more than 10 medicine shops, Fu's hands were filled with bags of herbs, all of which Zhou Donghuang urgently needed. These herbs were all used to improve the quality of the Qi Gathering elixir. No wonder this is the most prosperous city in the western ridge of the Chu King. After visiting more than 10 medicine shops, I have already gathered all the herbs needed to formulate a Qi Gathering elixir that increases the sensitivity to Qi by 9-fold. Walking on the streets of the Chu royal city, Zhou Donghuang thought to himself, now I only need 2 more herbs to formulate a Qi Gathering elixir that increases the sensitivity to Qi by 10-fold. A Qi Gathering elixir that increases the sensitivity to Qi by 10-fold was already the ultimate Qi Gathering elixir. Of course, the ultimate Qi Gathering elixir was not the best medicine for adepts of the Qi Gathering to assist in their practice. If Zhou Donghuang were an adept of the primal core stage or above, he could use his inner yuan to condense the samadhi fire to produce a Qi Gathering elixir that was even more effective than the Qi Gathering elixir. The inferior elixir could increase the sensitivity to Qi by 20 times, and the better ones could even increase the sensitivity to Qi by 30 times. But now, Zhou Donghuang's practice was limited, and the most he could do was produce an elixir like the ultimate Qi Gathering elixir to assist in his practice. I've already spent almost half of the 2 million liang of silver I brought with me this time. The herbs that Zhou Donghuang had bought earlier were all extremely rare herbs, and because of this they were also very expensive. Continuing to walk the streets and alleys of the Chu royal city, Zhou Donghuang looked around. The spaciousness of the streets of the Chu royal city, as well as the dense flow of people, made Zhou Donghuang deeply feel the prosperity of this city, which was incomparable to the prefecture capitals. Even the prefectural capitals of the superior-level prefectures could not compare to the Chu royal city, which was the capital of the Chu royal city. Of course, Zhou Donghuang only felt that the Chu royal city was more prosperous than the prefectural capitals, and he was not surprised by its prosperity. In his previous life he had traversed the universe and traveled to countless planets, and he had seen cities that were thousands or even tens of thousands of times larger than the Chu royal city. Compared to those cities that could be considered large-scale cities in the entire universe, a city like the Chu royal city could only be considered a tiny city. 100-year Sea Lotus. After visiting a few more medicine shops, Zhou Donghuang finally found one of the last 2 herbs needed to formulate a Qi Gathering elixir that could increase the sensitivity to Qi by 10 times. Sir, do you need it? The medicine shop manager asked with a smile as he saw Zhou Donghuang staring fixedly at the 100-year Sea Lotus. The medicine shop manager was a skinny middle-aged man with a mustache and a shrewd look in his eyes. Yes. Zhou Donghuang nodded without hesitation and immediately asked Fu to pay. A 100-year Sea Lotus was worth 200,000 liang of silver. However, if Zhou Donghuang used it sparingly, this 100-year Sea Lotus could easily formulate 100 bottles of Qi Gathering elixir. Sir, do you need anything else? Seeing that Zhou Donghuang was so straightforward, the medicine shop manager naturally became very enthusiastic, and he could not wait for Zhou Donghuang to sweep up all the herbs in his medicine shop. I don't need anything else at the moment. However, Zhou Donghuang had come to buy herbs with a specific purpose. He only needed the 100-year Sea Lotus among the herbs in this medicine shop. Seeing this, although the medicine shop manager was a little disappointed, his enthusiasm did not diminish in the slightest. Sir, if you have any needs you can let me know. I can also think of a way to get the herbs that I do not have in my medicine shop from other places. Oh. Zhou Donghuang's eyes flashed and he said directly, I do have a herb that I want, but I do not see it in your medicine shop. Sir, may I know what herb it is? The medicine shop manager asked. 10-year survival herb. Zhou Donghuang said. Although the 10-year survival herb was only 10 years old in terms of value, it was more valuable than the 100-year sea lotus, because it was even rarer and rarer than the sea lotus. 10-year survival herb? The medicine shop manager frowned slightly and then said with a bitter smile, Sir, I just got a 10-year survival herb yesterday, but I did not display it, because it has already been reserved. Not just mine, but all the 10-year survival grass in the medicine shops of the entire Chu Royal City has been reserved by that person since half a year ago. Unless some shop is willing to risk ruining their reputation and sell it to you. Otherwise, you will not be able to buy 10-year survival herb in the Chu Royal City. As he spoke, the medicine shop manager shook his head. Who has reserved 10-year survival herb? Chapter 73. Grand Family. The Yang family. Faced with Zhou Donghuang's question, the shopkeeper did not hide anything. What do they need so much 10-year survival grass for? Zhou Donghuang asked curiously. He was very familiar with the effects of 10-year survival grass, and no matter what elixir or liquid it was made into, it did not require too much. And the Grand Yang family had reserved all the 10-year survival grass from all the medicine shops in the Chu Royal City since half a year ago. What did the Yang family need so much 10-year survival grass for? They are extending the life of the patriarch of the Yang family. The shopkeeper shook his head and said, The patriarch of the Yang family returned from a trip to the capital half a year ago, and was mysteriously poisoned. That poison continuously consumed his vitality. It is said that although the patriarch of the Yang family is only in his 40s, he looks like an old man in his 60s or 70s, his face full of wrinkles, his hair white, and his aura weak. In the past half a year, if not for the 10-year survival grass, he would have died of old age due to the depletion of his vitality. However, in the past half a year, buying 10-year survival grass has depleted most of the Yang family's wealth. Now, the Yang family has sold many of their businesses in exchange for money to buy 10-year survival grass to extend the life of the patriarch of the Yang family. The shopkeeper said slowly. A stock of 10-year survival grass was worth 300,000 liang of silver, and purchasing it in large quantities was a huge pressure on the Grand Yang family. It seems that the patriarch of the Yang family is very important to the Yang family. For a family to deplete most of its wealth for him, it was not difficult for Zhou Donghuang to see how important the patriarch was to the Yang family. However, Zhou Donghuang felt that the Yang family's actions were a reckless waste of resources. The 10-year survival grass could be used in this way, but in his opinion, it was too wasteful. It was like consuming a 1,000-year fruit directly. Back then, the 1,000-year fruit that freezing wind had obtained could be consumed as 10,000-year fruits, maximizing the effect of the 1,000-year fruit. The 10-year survival grass could be used the same way in his hands. Of course. Hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, the shopkeeper nodded. Although the Yang family is a grand family among the grand families, they are at the bottom. The Yang family only has one level 6 adept, and that is the patriarch of the Yang family. With the death of the Yang family patriarch, the Yang family without a level 6 adept will be reduced to a preeminent family. And the Chu royal household does not allow non-grand families to develop businesses in the Chu royal city. So once the Yang family becomes a preeminent family, their businesses will also be taken away by the Chu royal household. Although they could sell off the properties of the Yang family's subordinates before the Yang family head dies, if they had a choice, who would be willing to kill the goose that lays the golden eggs? The shopkeeper's words also allowed Zhou Donghuang to understand the predicament that the Grand Yang family was currently facing. Almost as soon as the shopkeeper finished speaking, a pleasant voice came from the direction of the medicine shop's entrance. Shopkeeper who, it seems like you understand our Yang family's situation very well. The person who spoke was a young girl who had just entered the medicine shop, and behind her followed a middle-aged woman. The young girl was about 15 or 16 years old, with long hair that cascaded down her back. She wore a long yellow dress with a thin rose-red cardigan on the outside, and a purplish-red belt accentuated her slender waist perfectly. Of course, the most attractive thing about the young girl was not her clothes or her beautiful figure, but her beautiful, childish face. This young girl was the prettiest girl Zhou Donghuang had ever seen in his life. In terms of looks and temperament, she could even be compared to the daughters of the great families of the galaxies he had seen in his previous life. It had to be known that the proud daughters of the great clans of the star field might have ordinary fathers, but their mothers were all peerless beauties. As long as they inherited their mother's looks, they would basically not be bad. Miss Zishi. Hearing the voice and seeing the young girl, the shopkeeper smiled bitterly. He had not expected that the Yang family would come to his door to collect the 10-year survival grass just as he mentioned it. I'll go get the 10-year survival grass for you right now. After greeting the young girl, the shopkeeper turned around and walked into the medicine shop without waiting for her to speak. As he walked, he said to the young girl, 10-year survival grass? It was not difficult for Zhou Donghuang to guess that the young girl was from the Yang family, and that she was here to collect the 10-year survival grass that he wanted. As Zhou Donghuang was sizing up the young girl, she was sizing him up as well. He was dressed in white and had an outstanding aura. Even the direct descendants of the tycoon family she had seen before paled in comparison to this young man in front of her. She even felt that even the direct descendants of the Chu royal family might not be able to compare to this youth. Just as the young girl looked away, Zhou Donghuang asked, "Miss, is it convenient for me to meet the chief of the Yang family?" Hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, the young girl was taken aback. She looked at Zhou Donghuang and asked with a slight frown, "Why do you want to meet my uncle?" Zhou Donghuang understood her status in the Yang family from her words. The chief of the Yang family was the young girl's uncle. This meant that the young girl was a direct descendant of the Yang family. However, it made sense. To be able to represent the Yang family to collect the 10-year survival grass, which was worth 300,000 liang of silver, her status in the Yang family was definitely not ordinary. I know a thing or two about medicine and I know a lot about antidotes. I want to see what poison the chief of the Yang family is suffering from, and if I can cure it. Zhou Donghuang said directly. In his memories from his previous life, there were hundreds and thousands of different poisons that could cause the situation that the chief of the Yang family was in. As for what poison the chief of the Yang family was suffering from, he needed to see it with his own eyes before he could make a judgment. Of course, the main reason why he was so enthusiastic was because of the 10-year survival grass. You? The young girl looked Zhou Donghuang up and down, her face and eyes full of suspicion. Obviously, she did not think that a youth who did not look much older than her would have the ability to cure her uncle's poison. Young man, your flirting skills are not bad. Just then, the middle-aged woman behind the young girl spoke up. But, think about it, how old are you? No one would believe that you have the ability to cure our chief of the Yang family. Furthermore, we have invited 9 of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city to examine the poison, but none of them can do anything about it. You are just a youth, how can you compare to them? Do you really think my young mistress is stupid? As the middle-aged woman spoke, she put on an expression as if she had seen through Zhou Donghuang's intentions. Within the western ridge of the Chu king, there were no superior-level medicine masters. Although the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city were only intermediate-level medicine masters, they were the cream of the crop. Any one of them who was willing to serve in the Chu royal household would be treated very well. However, even 9 of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city were helpless against the poison of the Yang family chief. Flirting? Zhou Donghuang laughed involuntarily. You think, what I said just now was to flirt with your young mistress? Isn't that so? The middle-aged woman looked as if she understood. I have to say, your young mistress is indeed quite beautiful. In a few years she will definitely be a beauty in the western ridge of the Chu king. As Zhou Donghuang said this, the middle-aged woman's expression softened, and the young girl's lips curled up in a smile. However, when Zhou Donghuang's next words reached their ears, their expressions froze. But even so, it is not to the point where I, Zhou Donghuang, will initiate a conversation. Zhou Donghuang said lightly. You? Just as the middle-aged woman was exasperated, Zhou Donghuang glanced at her calmly and said unhurriedly, your body has been overworked. Every 3 days at most, there will be a continuous pain in your back for at least 2 hours. Hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, the middle-aged woman's eyes narrowed, and her face was filled with shock. How did this youth know about this? After all, there were definitely no more than 3 people who knew about this, including herself. Even her young mistress did not know. And you? Zhou Donghuang's calm gaze very quickly shifted from the middle-aged woman to the young girl. However, he did not say this directly in front of Fu and the woman. Instead, he walked up to the young girl and said in a voice that only the young girl could hear, in the past 6 months, your menstruation has been irregular. Recently, it has been at least 2 months, right? As a virgin, it is normal for your menstruation to occur once a month. If I am not wrong, it is because of your uncle's poison that you have been overthinking, causing your internal heat to build up. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhou Donghuang had already retreated. A look of shock appeared on the young girl's face, because her situation had been completely guessed by the youth in white before her. At that moment, the young girl and the middle-aged woman looked at each other in disbelief. "Miss Zishi, this is the 10-year survival grass. Please check it." At the same time, the owner of the medicine shop walked out from the inner room of the medicine shop and handed a brocade box to the young girl. The young girl opened the brocade box and looked at the stalk of grass lying inside. She nodded and said, "Yes, it is the 10-year survival grass." Although the stalk of grass in the brocade box had been removed from the soil, it was still green. This was a characteristic of the survival grass. This stalk of grass had a total of 10 leaves, and each leaf represented 1 year. It was clearly a 10-year survival grass. Chapter 74. Just now, Yang Zishi's attention had been completely diverted by the 10-year survival grass that the medicine shop owner had taken out. Now, hearing the young man's words and thinking of what the young man had just said in her ear, the blush on her cheeks did not even have time to fade before it turned even redder. A youth of her age talking to her about that matter made her extremely shy. However, what the young man had just said was her personal privacy. Other than her, no one else knew about it. "Aunt May, what he said about your situation just now, was it also correct?" Yang Zishi softly asked the woman behind her. When she saw the latter nod, she looked at the youth and said, "We're going back to the Yang family now. You can come with us." The instant her gaze landed on the youth, Yang Zishi sheepishly withdrew her gaze. The youth's words had broken her privacy, causing her to feel a little ashamed. "I have one condition," Zhou Donghuang said. Just as the middle-aged woman frowned and was about to flare up, Yang Zishi asked, "What conditions?" "If I can cure the Yang family chief's poison, I want the 10-year survival herb in your hands. Of course, if you can't decide, I can follow you back to the Yang family and let the person with authority decide." "I can decide that." A glimmer of hope appeared in Yang Zishi's eyes. "If you can cure my uncle of the poison, the 10-year survival grass is just a small matter. The Yang family will definitely not mistreat you in other aspects. I only need the 10-year survival grass," Zhou Donghuang said. In a moment, Zhou Donghuang brought Fu and followed Yang Zishi and his servant out of the medicine shop to the Yang family. Although the Yang family was a grand family, its mansion was much smaller than the mansion of the other grand family, the Wu family, which Zhou Donghuang had visited before. Of course he could understand this. After all, this was the capital of the western ridge of the Chu King, and not the capital of a prefecture. The reason why the Grand Wu family estate occupied such a large area was not only because it was a prefecture capital, but also because the Wu family estate was also the governor's residence of Guangling Prefecture. As the number 1 family of Guangling Prefecture, the governor's household of Guangling Prefecture, the Wu family's residence in Guangling Prefecture was naturally not shabby. Miss Zishi. After entering the Yang family mansion, the people they met along the way, whether they were maids or Yang family branch disciples, all respectfully bowed to Yang Zishi. "Up ahead is my uncle's residence." Very quickly, Yang Zishi and his servant brought Zhou Donghuang and his servant to the Yang family chief's residence, a spacious courtyard. Currently there were 3 people standing in the courtyard. A middle-aged man, a young man, and an old man standing respectfully behind the young man. The middle-aged man was wearing a loose gray robe with golden edges. He was pacing back and forth in front of a room in the courtyard. His face was full of solemnity, and it was obvious that he was somewhat restless. The young man appeared to be in his early 20s. He wore a brocade robe and his face was handsome yet cold. There seemed to be an innate arrogance between his brows. It was not difficult to see that he was a disciple of an extraordinary family. As for the old man behind the young man, he was just an old servant by his side. He had white hair and a skinny face, but his eyes were bright and full of expression. Third uncle. Yang Zishi walked into the courtyard first and bowed to the middle-aged man who was pacing in front of a room in the courtyard. "Zishi." Hearing the voice, the middle-aged man looked at Yang Zishi with a kind smile on his face. "Have you retrieved the 10-year survival grass?" Yang Zishi nodded. "Sister Zishi." At the same time, the young man's gaze also fell on Yang Zishi. The cold expression on his handsome face disappeared at this moment and was replaced by a warm smile. However, in the face of the young man's warmth, Yang Zishi only greeted him coldly, "Young master, sure." It was obvious that Yang Zishi not only disliked this young man, but even repulsed him. However, the young man did not seem to mind, and the smile on his face did not change. That was until he noticed Zhou Donghuang, who had followed Yang Zishi in. Zhou Donghuang was dressed in a robe whiter than snow, and his handsome face completely outshone the young man. In particular, Zhou Donghuang's cold aura was like the first bloom of a lotus, giving off a mysterious and ethereal feeling. Whether in terms of appearance or aura, the young man paled in comparison to Zhou Donghuang. He was completely crushed. Sister Zishi, this is? The young man looked at Zhou Donghuang, his eyes flashing coldly. This was the first time he had seen a man so close to Yang Zishi. Yang Zishi was the woman he fancied, and it was not easy for him to get so close to Yang Zishi. Therefore, his cold eyes revealed a threatening look. However, Zhou Donghuang ignored it. Third uncle. At the same time, Yang Zishi glanced at Zhou Donghuang and introduced him to the middle-aged man. This is Medicine Master Zhou, whom I brought back from outside. He is here to treat eldest uncle. With that, she introduced the middle-aged man to Zhou Donghuang. Medicine Master Zhou, this is my third uncle, the third master of the Yang family, Yang Yunchong. Medicine Master Zhou? Yang Yunchong looked Zhou Donghuang up and down, his face full of surprise. It was not difficult for him to see that the youth before him was at most 16 or 17 years old, not much older than his niece, Yang Zishi. However, at this age, even if he had studied medicine, he would at most be an inferior-level medicine master. But he knew his niece well, and she was not a rash person. Since he had brought Zhou Donghuang back, it meant that he had to have some redeeming qualities, so he greeted him with a smile. Medicine Master Zhou. Zhou Donghuang nodded slightly in response to Yang Yunchong's greeting. A burst of mocking laughter resounded without any warning. It was the young man standing at the side, looking at Zhou Donghuang with a mocking smile. Kid, at your age you are at most an inferior-level medicine master? You are just an inferior-level medicine master, and you dare to talk nonsense about treating Patriarch Yang? Do you know that Patriarch Yang's illness is not a minor illness, but that he has been poisoned? Now, I have already invited Medicine Master Xiao, one of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city, to treat Chief Yang and detoxify him. There is no need for you here, you may leave. Medicine Master Xiao? Yang Zishi could not help but exclaim, then looked at Yang Yunchong. Third uncle, is Medicine Master Xiao inside treating eldest uncle? Yang Yunchong smiled and nodded. Medicine Master Xiao has been away for more than a year, and has just returned today when he was invited here by young Master Shi. Although Medicine Master Xiao is not the best medicine master among the top 10 medicine masters in the Chu royal city, he is the best at treating poisons. In terms of treating poisons, even the superior-level medicine master of the imperial court may not be able to compare to him. With him around, there is great hope for Big Brother's poison. At this point, Yang Yunchong paused, then smiled bitterly and said, if even he can't do anything, then there is no way to cure Big Brother's poison. Hearing Yang Yunchong's last words, Yang Zishi's expression became solemn and he muttered, there will be a way. Medicine Master Xiao will definitely find a way. Kid, did you hear that? At the same time, the young man looked at Zhou Donghuang with a mocking smile and said, if even Medicine Master Xiao can't cure Patriarch Yang, then as an inferior-level medicine master, there is no way you can. However, whether it was just now or now, Zhou Donghuang did not even look at the young man. Even if the young man continued to mock him, Zhou Donghuang ignored him. You dare to ignore me, Shiryu? Seeing that Zhou Donghuang was ignoring him, Shiryu's expression turned ugly. He, Shiryu, was the first young master of the Tycoon Shi family, the successor of the Shi family's next patriarch. Even the patriarch of the Grand Yang family had to address him respectfully as Young Master Shi. Creak. Just as Shiryu was about to explode in anger, the door to the room in front opened, and an elderly figure walked out slowly. This was an old man in a gray robe of medium build. Although his hair and eyebrows were all white, he looked like he was only 40 or 50 years old. Medicine Master Xiao. Seeing the old man come out, Yang Yunchong hurried forward and asked with a serious expression, can the poison in my big brother be cured? Yang Zishi, who had followed Yang Yunchong, looked at the old man with clenched fists, her eyes filled with anticipation. Shiryu glanced coldly at Zhou Donghuang, then walked towards the old man. Third Master Yang, I can't tell what kind of poison Patriarch Yang has been poisoned with, but the poison is extremely terrifying. Moreover, it has already permeated Patriarch Yang's entire body. In the past 6 months, if it wasn't for the 10-year survival grass, Patriarch Yang would have died 4 months ago. The old man shook his head. Furthermore, the constant supply of 10-year survival grass has caused Chief Yang's body to develop a strong resistance to it. At most, he can take 1 or 2 10-year survival grass, and it will not have any effect on Chief Yang. 1 month. Chief Yang can only hold on for 1 more month. Prepare for his funeral. The old man sighed. What? Yang Yuncheng's expression changed. He had not expected such an outcome. Yang Zixi's face turned extremely pale, and her body went limp, almost collapsing to the ground. Luckily, the lady behind her caught her in time. Just then Zhou Donghuang made his move. He walked past them and entered the room that the old man had just come out of. Chem? The old man was taken aback and looked at Yang Yuncheng doubtfully. Third Master Yang, who was that? Chapter 75. An inferior-level medicine master? Hearing Shiyu's words, Medicine Master Zhao's expression changed, and he looked sternly at Yang Yuncheng. Third Master Yang, was that youth really there to treat Chief Yang's illness? Medicine Master Xiao. Yang Yuncheng was a little embarrassed. After all, if he were in Medicine Master Zhao's shoes, he would definitely be unhappy, but he still nodded in the end. After all, that youth was someone his niece, Yang Zixi, had brought back to treat his big brother. He could not possibly chase after him and chase him away now, could he? Although he did not think that the youth could cure his big brother's poison, since the old man before him could do nothing, there was no harm in letting him try. Medicine Master Xiao, that Medicine Master Zhou who just went in, is quite capable. Just then, the middle-aged woman behind the young girl spoke. Oh. Medicine Master Xiao was so angry that he laughed. He looked at the woman with interest and asked, Then I'd like to hear, just what kind of ability does that 16 or 17-year-old kid have? Medicine Master Xiao, you are an intermediate-level medicine master, so if I may be so bold as to ask if you can tell what illness I have just by looking at me? The woman asked. Previously, in the medicine shop, the youth in white had only taken a few glances at her to be able to tell that she had an unmentionable illness, and he had even described her condition clearly. She had not even heard of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city having such ability. How could he tell what illness you have just by looking at you? Medicine Master Xiao said calmly. Unless it's a visible illness, even the superior-level medicine master of the imperial court would not be able to tell with just a few glances. Are you trying to tell me that kid who just went in was able to tell what illness you have just by looking at you? Medicine Master Xiao said with a mocking smile. That's right. The woman nodded seriously. He just looked at me a few times and was able to tell. Ridiculous. However, Medicine Master Xiao did not believe her at all. After looking at her as if she was an idiot, he looked at Yang Yuncheng and said, Third Master Yang, from today onwards I, Xiao Qin, will not step into the Yang family, nor will I have any cooperation with the Yang family. Even if someone from the Yang clan dies of illness in front of me, I won't help them. With that, Medicine Master Xiao snorted coldly, flicked his sleeves and left. This? Yang Yuncheng smiled bitterly. Shiryu, is this what you want? Are you satisfied now? Yang Zixi eyes were filled with anger as she stared at Shiryu. Her face was filled with hostility. If not for Shiryu fanning the flames and stirring up trouble, Medicine Master Xiao would not have been so hostile toward the Yang clan and even threatened not to work with the Yang clan or treat the Yang clan anymore. Sister Zixi, how can you blame me? Everything I said was the truth. If you hadn't brought that kid to the Yang family, Medicine Master Xiao wouldn't have met him. Shiryu shook his head. Young Master Shi, you can't blame Zixi for this. Yang Yuncheng sighed. After all, she doesn't know that Medicine Master Xiao is here. After sighing, he began to console young Zixi. Zixi, don't take it to heart. Medicine Master Xiao has never worked with the Yang family, and even if he wanted to work with other families, he wouldn't be interested in us. As for the Yang family not seeking him for treatment, there are plenty of medicine masters in the Chu royal city, so it's fine even if they don't seek him out. Third uncle, you don't have to console me, this is indeed my fault. Yang Zixi sighed, but there was a hint of hope in her eyes. Because, as one of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city, Medicine Master Xiao had actually said that even the superior-level medicine master of the imperial court would not be able to detect a person's hidden illness just by looking at the surface. Didn't this mean that even the superior-level medicine master of the imperial court would not be able to detect her minor illnesses with just a few glances? That Medicine Master Zhou should be quite capable? I just don't know if he has a way to cure eldest uncle's poison. Although this was what she thought, Yang Zixi did not have much hope, because Medicine Master Xiao had also said that eldest uncle's poison had already entered his vitals. At this thought, Yang Zixi's face was filled with disappointment, and there was a look of pain and indignation in the depths of her eyes. She had lost her parents when she was young, and it was eldest uncle who had raised her. In her eyes, eldest uncle was no different from her father, except that they addressed each other differently. Because of this, ever since her eldest uncle had been poisoned half a year ago, she had been unable to sleep at night, and her body had also developed the minor illnesses that the youth had identified. Let's see if he has a way. Just as Yang Zishi led the woman behind her into the room, and Shiryu and Yang Yunchong were about to follow. Two hurried voices suddenly rang out, causing them to subconsciously stop in their tracks. Third Master, I heard that young Master Shi has brought Medicine Master Xiao over. What's the situation? Third Master, Medicine Master Xiao is the best at curing poisons among the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city. Does he have a way? Accompanying the two voices were two old men. One was fat and the other was thin, but their facial features were extremely similar. The fat one slimmed down and the thin one slimmed down. They were almost exactly the same. Head elder, second elder. Seeing the two old men walk into the courtyard, Yang Yunchong hurried forward to greet them. The two men were the Lu family's head elder Yang Ping and second elder Yang En. They were twin brothers and at the same time, they were level 5 adepts of the Qi gathering, second only to the patriarch of the Yang family. Greetings, elders. Just as Yang Ping and Yang En were staring at Yang Yunchong, Shiryu spoke up. Medicine Master Xiao is unable to cure the Yang family chief's poison. Only then did Yang Ping and Yang En notice Shiryu, but before they could greet him, their expressions changed at Shiryu's words. Even Medicine Master Xiao, who was said to be as good at curing poisons as the superior level Medicine Master of the Imperial Court, was unable to cure the Yang family chief? Didn't that mean that there was no way to cure the poison in the Yang family chief? Just then Yang Yunchong spoke up. Head elder, second elder. Medicine Master Xiao said that Big Brother has consumed too much 10-year survival grass and has developed a resistance to it. After 1 or 2 more 10-year survival grass, the 10-year survival grass will be useless to him. Hearing Yang Yunchong's words, Yang Ping and Yang An's expressions darkened even further. Does the heavens really want the Yang family to become a preeminent family again? After a moment, Yang Ping recovered and sighed with a bitter smile. Two elders. At the same time, Shiryu continued, Medicine Master Xiao not only said that he was unable to cure the Yang family chief, before he left, he even said that he would never work with the Yang family in the future, and that he would not treat anyone from the Yang family. Even if someone from the Yang family died in front of him, he would not care. Yang Yunchong frowned slightly. He had not expected that Shiryu would still be fanning the flames at this time. Of course, Shiryu was the first young master of the Tycoon Shi family, and even Yang Yunchong did not dare to offend him. Therefore, although he was displeased, he did not say anything. What? What's going on? Hearing Shiryu's words, both Yang Ping and Yang An's expressions changed once again. When they understood the ins and outs of the matter from Shiryu, their expressions became even uglier. Preposterous. A youth of at most 16 or 17 years old, at most an inferior level medicine master, how could he have the ability to cure the Yang family chief? I used to think that Lady Zishi was quite reliable, but how could she be so muddle-headed in this matter? With that, Yang Ping and Yang En walked into the room where the Yang family chief was staying. Immediately Yang Yunchong and Shiryu as well as the old servant behind Shiryu followed. Inside the room, an old man who looked to be in his 60s or 70s was lying on the bed. And he was the current chief of the Yang family, Yang Yunji. The old man's face was thin and wrinkled, and it was impossible to tell that he was only in his 40s. Yang Yunji was only 47 years old this year. Zhou Donghuang stood in front of the bed and looked at Yang Yunji calmly. After a round of diagnosis and treatment, he already had a very clear understanding of the situation in Yang Yunji's body. The patriarch of the Yang clan had been poisoned by a snake. Moreover, this snake poison was left behind by an extremely rare venomous snake. Patriarch Yang, you've been poisoned by the venom left behind by the Datura snake. Zhou Donghuang told Yang Yunji. Shameless boasting. Just as Zhou Donghuang finished speaking, an elderly voice rang out in the room, and two old men, one fat and one skinny, entered the room one after the other. The person who spoke was the fat old man who had walked in first. First elder, second elder. Seeing the two old men, one fat and one thin, Yang Zishi hurriedly saluted them respectfully. Miss Zishi, how could you bring such a young boy back to treat the family head? Now you've offended Medicine Master Xiao. Yang En, who followed behind Yang Ping, looked at Yang Zishi and frowned slightly. Although we can look for other pharmacists to treat our family. But what if someone was accidentally poisoned? Medicine Master Zhao's specialty is detoxification. His ability to detoxify is unparalleled in the entire country of Yunyang. Today the Yang family has offended him and this is undoubtedly a huge problem. As he spoke, Yang An's tone darkened slightly. Before Yang Zishi could speak, Fu, who was standing behind Zhou Donghuang, could not help but burst out laughing. This medicine master Xiao that you speak of, he can't even detoxify your chief's poison, and he dares to say that he's an expert in detoxification? What a joke. Just as Yang An was glaring at Fu, Yang Ping looked at Zhou Donghuang unkindly. Boy, after our chief was poisoned, there were no snake bites on his body. On what basis do you say that he was poisoned by a snake? Chapter 76. If you haven't heard of it, then I can only say that you are ignorant. Zhou Donghuang had not intended to bother with the head elder of the Yang family, but seeing that he could not stop once he started talking, Zhou Donghuang looked at him disdainfully and said calmly. The Datura snake was a very rare venomous snake. The Datura snake was different from other venomous snakes that poison people by biting them. It breathed venom through its nose, causing people to unknowingly breathe it in and be poisoned. As Yang Ping's expression changed, Zhou Donghuang looked at the Yang family chief Yang Yunji who was lying on the bed and said calmly, I can cure the snake venom in the Yang family chief. As soon as Zhou Donghuang said this, the entire room fell silent. Even the head elder of the Yang family Yang Ping, who had been prepared to reprimand Zhou Donghuang, shut his mouth tightly at this moment. He looked at Zhou Donghuang in disbelief, his eyes shining with suspicion. This young man said that he could cure the poison in the Yang family chief? Medicine Master Zhou, is this true? Yang Yunchong, who had just entered the room, heard Zhou Donghuang's words and was the first to recover from his shock. He asked Zhou Donghuang with a serious expression. If my young master says he can cure it, naturally he can. Fu, who was standing behind Zhou Donghuang, said impatiently when he saw that there was still someone questioning his young master. In his eyes, his young master was like a god, omnipotent. Someone doubting his young master was an insult to his beliefs, and he could not tolerate it. Medicine Master Zhou, please cure my uncle. Yang Zishi looked at Zhou Donghuang excitedly after she recovered. Although they had not known each other for long, it was not difficult for her to see that Zhou Donghuang was not someone who spoke without thinking. Medicine Master Zhou, can you really cure my poison? Yang Yunji, who was lying on the bed, tried hard to open his eyes, and there was a rare glimmer of hope in his dim gaze. I don't want to repeat what I said a second time. Zhou Donghuang glanced at Yang Yunji, then looked at Yang Zishi and said, I need 36 2-inch long pure gold needles. The thinner the better, and they must not be bent at all. Prepare them in 3 days. I can completely cure the snake venom in his body in 10 days. Zhou Donghuang said. Before Yang Zishi could say anything, Yang Yunchong looked at Yang An and said, Second elder, you're in charge of the family's gold shop. Please prepare the golden needles that Medicine Master Zhou mentioned. All right. Yang An answered and left. Although he didn't really believe that this young man could cure the Yang family head's poison, even Medicine Master Xiao couldn't do anything about it. He could only try his best. Fu, pen and paper. When Fu took out a pen and paper and handed it to Zhou Donghuang wrote down the names and quantities of a bunch of herbs and handed it to Yang Zishi. Gather all of these herbs within 3 days. After I detoxify the poison in your Yang family head, I'll need to use these herbs to boil soup for him to drink. With this medicinal soup, when the snake venom in his body is completely cleared, it will also be the day his body recovers to its peak. Zhou Donghuang said. I'll take care of it. The head elder of the Yang family, Yang Ping, took the prescription from Yang Zishi's hands and left without looking back. This concerned the health of the Yang family head and the rise and fall of the Yang family. Even if he didn't really believe this young man, he was still prepared to follow his instructions and give it a try. If it worked, everyone would be happy. If it didn't work, he could settle the score with the young man later. In 3 days, I want to see how he will cure the Yang family head of the poison. Shi Yu, who had followed Yang Yunchong into the room, snorted when he saw that everyone in the Yang family believed the young man's words. He turned and left the Yang family with his old servant. Medicine Master Zhou, are you staying far from the Yang family? If not, why don't you stay here for the next 3 days? Yang Yunchong looked at Zhou Donghuang and asked. He had brought this up because he was worried that the young man in front of him might not be able to find him after making such a big promise. If the young man was willing to stay, he would undoubtedly believe what the young man had just said. I just arrived in the Chu royal city and am temporarily staying at an inn, Zhou Donghuang said lightly. Zhou Donghuang said lightly, that inn is quite a distance from here. Yang Yunchong's eyes lit up, and he took advantage of the opportunity to extend an invitation. Medicine Master Zhou, why don't you get someone to check out of the inn? The environment of the Yang family's guest rooms is much better than that inn's. Yang Yunchong stared at Zhou Donghuang. That's good. Zhou Donghuang nodded. Seeing Zhou Donghuang agree so readily, Yang Yunchong could not help but feel excited, because this also meant that the young man was most likely someone with real ability. Otherwise he would not have agreed to stay in the Yang family. Zishi, go with Auntie Mei to arrange a guest room for Medicine Master Zhou. Next, Yang Yunchong left the task of arranging Zhou Donghuang to Yang Zishi. Yang Zishi now saw Zhou Donghuang as her uncle's only hope. She warmly brought Zhou Donghuang to the guest rooms and specially arranged the best courtyard for Zhou Donghuang. Medicine Master Zhou, you said you just arrived in the Chu Royal City? You're not from the Chu Royal City? Yang Zishi asked curiously. No. Zhou Donghuang shook his head. Medicine Master Zhou, I see that you are only 1 or 2 years older than me. Why don't I call you Brother Zhou? You don't have to call me Miss Yang, just call me Zishi. Yang Zishi smiled. Zhou Donghuang nodded slightly. To him it did not matter what he called her. Brother Zhou, how should I treat it? Thinking of the unmentionable illness that the young man had mentioned, Yang Zishi asked shyly. Her cheeks had once again turned bright red, and her lovely appearance was pitiful. It's just a minor illness. When the golden needles are ready, I'll give you a few injections and you'll be cured, Zhou Donghuang said casually. Zhou Donghuang said nonchalantly, however, you still need to adjust your work, rest, and mood to ensure that it doesn't relapse. As for you? Zhou Donghuang's gaze quickly fell on the woman behind the young girl. Tomorrow morning, come and get the prescription. Take it according to my prescription for 3 days and your pain will lessen. Take it for a month and your unmentionable illness will be cured. Zhou Donghuang said. Thank you, Medicine Master Zhou. The woman thanked him profusely, her face full of joy. Anime, you go ahead. I'll stay here and talk to Big Brother Zhou. The young girl said to the woman. Yes, Mississippi, the woman acknowledged and left. After the woman left, the young girl was about to kneel before Zhou Donghuang, but Zhou Donghuang stopped her in time. He frowned and asked, What are you doing? Big Brother Zhou, I want to thank you for curing my uncle. The girl said. You don't have to thank me. Zhou Donghuang shook his head. I helped cure Chief Yang of the poison only for the sake of your family's 10-year survival grass. It was not for free. Big Brother Zhou, let alone 1 stalk of 10-year survival grass, even if it were 10 stalks, the Yang family would not be able to repay your kindness. The young girl said seriously, You saved my uncle, which is equivalent to saving the entire Yang family. If her uncle were to die from this poison, the entire Yang family would be reduced from a grand family to a preeminent family, losing its former glory. Of course, she did not care whether the Yang family was a grand family or a preeminent family. As long as her uncle was safe, even if the Yang family was reduced to a lesser family, she could accept it. All she cared about was her uncle's safety. Furthermore, this kneel of mine is not on behalf of the Yang family, but on behalf of myself. Finally, the young girl insisted on kneeling and bowed to Zhou Donghuang. My parents died when I was young and it was my uncle who raised me. In my eyes he is my father. Seeing the stubbornness on the young girl's face, even Zhou Donghuang could not help but be moved. In front of this young girl, Chindandan was not even human. Don't worry. In half a month your uncle will be safe and sound. Zhou Donghuang helped the young girl up. When he spoke again, his tone was not as cold as before but much gentler. In some ways the young girl resonated with him and gained his approval. Thank you, Big Brother Zhou. Ever since Yang Zishi could remember, this was the first time she had been so close to a man. Instantly, the blush on her cheeks became more pronounced. At the same time she felt a little strange. Normally, she would be extremely disgusted by those good-for-nothings like Shiryu and avoid them. However, she didn't feel the slightest bit of disgust towards the youth before her. So much so that when the young man helped her up and let go of her to take a step back, she felt an inexplicable sense of loss in her heart. Because, when the young man helped her up, she did not know why, but she felt a strong sense of security. It was as if she was beside the young man. Even if the sky fell down, she would not be afraid. Once the young man left, this sense of security disappeared. At that moment, she felt as if she had become a lone boat in the vast ocean, alone and without anyone to rely on. Brother Zhou, where are you from? Furthermore, the young man's abilities made Yang Zishi respect him from the bottom of her heart. She was very curious as to where this young man had come from. Yunfeng Prefecture. Zhou Donghuang said. Yunfeng Prefecture? Yang Zishi was taken aback, because she had never heard of such a prefecture. She had heard of all the prefectures in the country of Yunyang, whether they were superior or intermediate prefectures. She only did not know much about the inferior prefectures. Brother Zhou, you are not from the country of Yunyang? Yang Zishi did not think that Zhou Donghuang was from an inferior prefecture, because she felt that an inferior prefecture could not possibly produce someone like Zhou Donghuang. Chapter 77. Yunfeng Prefecture is just an inferior prefecture. It's normal that you have not heard of it. Zhou Donghuang smiled. Seeing the young girl's reaction, it was not difficult for him to tell that she had not heard of Yunfeng Prefecture. Inferior prefecture? Hearing the youth's words, Yang Zishi's face froze. Her dazed expression was very cute, and Zhou Donghuang could not help but look at her a few more times. Zhou Donghuang nodded. I set off from the capital of Yunfeng Prefecture and traveled for more than 5 months before arriving at the Chu royal city. Back then, he had left the capital of Yunfeng Prefecture on the 1st of April 1228 of the Ziyun era. And today was already the 10th of September 1228 of the Ziyun era. More than 5 months. I wonder how Mother and Xiao Lu are doing? Thinking of Lin Lan and Yun Lu, Zhou Donghuang's face showed a rare gentleness, and Yang Zishi could not help but feel jealous. Ever since she had met the youth before her, he had always been cold and did not like to speak, as if he did not care about anything. But now, he seemed to have thought of someone, and a gentle expression like water actually appeared on his indifferent face. Brother Zhou, are you thinking of sister-in-law? Yang Zishi asked tentatively, and as soon as the words left her mouth, she regretted it. She even felt it was strange that she had suddenly asked such a question. At that moment, she could not help but feel awkward, and she lowered her head, not daring to look at the youth again. Sister-in-law? Zhou Donghuang was stunned for a moment, then shook his head. Just now I was thinking of my mother and sister. Are they in Yunfeng Prefecture now? Yang Zishi's eyes lit up. Only now did she realize that she had misunderstood. But even she did not know why she had been jealous just now. Was it because the youth was not like other men of the same age who fawned over her like stars surrounding the moon? Zhou Donghuang nodded. She chatted with Zhou Donghuang for a while until Fu returned. Only then did the young lady reluctantly bid farewell to Zhou Donghuang. Big brother Zhou, I'll go back first. I won't disturb you any longer. Yang Zishi rarely chatted so much with others. Even she did not know why a youth she had met on their first day could make her feel so good about him. The young man seemed to have an innate charm. What she did not know was that although Zhou Donghuang had the body of a young man, his memories spanned thousands of years. Under such circumstances, the aura he exuded was not something his peers could have. Zhou Donghuang's aura, as well as his usual aloofness, was extremely lethal to a young girl who had just experienced love. All right. Zhou Donghuang nodded and watched the girl leave. He only retracted his gaze when she disappeared from his sight. Young master. After the girl left, Fu looked at Zhou Donghuang with a smile. Have you taken a liking to Lady Zishi? What nonsense are you spouting? Zhou Donghuang glared at Fu and asked unhappily, did you bring everything from the inn? I brought them all. Apart from the carriage pulled by the 3 Fergana horses and the dark steel heavy spear, there's nothing else that needs to be brought over. Fu nodded and continued with a smile, young master, I think Lady Zishi is not bad. The Yang family disciple who sent me to the inn told me quite a bit about her. She is a good girl who knows how to repay kindness with kindness. To a certain extent, she is even more competent than the biological daughter of the Yang family chief. In this aspect, Chindandan, who betrayed Madame, cannot compare. Although Fu had not experienced Chindandan's situation, he knew that there was a person who had disregarded his Madame's upbringing and betrayed his Madame in a cruel way. Chindandan? Hearing Fu mention Chindandan, Zhou Donghuang's expression darkened, and his eyes flashed coldly. She is not fit to be compared to Zishi. Young master, I still don't understand. Back then, when we reached the capital of Yunfeng Prefecture, we could have gone to the Hong family and humiliated Chindandan, or even killed her. But you did not go. Fu asked the question that had been bothering him for a long time. Humiliating her, killing her, it was all very simple. But I did not intend to do that to her in the Hong family or in Yunfeng Prefecture. Zhou Donghuang's eyes flashed coldly. The higher she stands, the harder she falls. Now I'll let her go higher. When she can't go higher anymore, I'll let her fall down. The pain then will make her feel even more deeply. As he spoke, Zhou Donghuang grinned. His smile was so evil that Fu could not help but feel a chill run down his spine. In his previous life, when Zhou Donghuang left Earth and returned to Ziyun, he had looked for Qin Dandan. In the end, he had discovered Qin Dandan had not died of old age in the capital of Yunfeng Prefecture of Yunyang Country, but in the small sect called the Valley of the Medicine Masters, which was superior to Yunyang Country. After some investigation, he had found out. It turned out that Qin Dandan's biological father was actually the second elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, Qin Tianhe. Qin Dandan was the illegitimate daughter of the second elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, Qin Tianhe. She had wandered into the inferior Yunfeng Prefecture of Yunyang Country and had been adopted by his mother, Lin Lan. Later, it was the preeminent Hong family of Yunfeng Prefecture who had sent her to the Valley of the Medicine Masters to reunite with her father. It's better to end things with her in the Valley of the Medicine Masters than in Yunfeng Prefecture. It was because of this that Zhou Donghuang had not rushed to the Hong family to look for Qin Dandan when he had first arrived in the capital of Yunfeng Prefecture. He had planned to go to the Valley of the Medicine Masters to settle the score with Qin Dandan in the future. After Qin Dandan has obtained the identity of the daughter of the second elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, when she is at her peak, I will destroy everything she has, plunge her into endless despair and regret, and then kill her. Only then will I be able to dispel the hatred in my heart. This was Zhou Donghuang's plan. Otherwise, when he had been in the capital of Yunfeng Prefecture, he could have gone straight to the Hong family to humiliate and kill Qin Dandan. Qin Dandan, you should be thankful that you have a biological father who is the second elder of the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Otherwise, you would have been dead in the capital of Yunfeng Prefecture. Zhou Donghuang's eyes flashed coldly, and he laughed coldly in his heart. Ziyun era year 1228 early morning. Brother Zhou. 2 days later, Yang Zishi came to look for Zhou Donghuang. Second elder has already prepared the golden needles that you requested, and head elder has also gathered the herbs that you requested. Can you start treating my uncle today? The young girl looked at Zhou Donghuang expectantly. That second elder of the Yang family is quite efficient. Zhou Donghuang smiled lightly. Let's go together. Yesterday Yang Zishi had come to chat with him and even brought him around the Yang family household. After 2 days he had developed a good impression of this straightforward and grateful young girl. Not long after, Zhou Donghuang and Yang Zishi once again arrived at the residence of the chief of the Yang family, Yang Yunji. In the courtyard of Yang Yunji's residence, the third master of the Yang family, Yang Yunchong, the head elder of the Yang family, Yang Ping, and the second elder of the Yang family, Yang En, were already waiting there. In addition, Shiryu was also present. These 2 days in his conversations with Yang Zishi had also mentioned Shiryu, so Zhou Donghuang knew who he was. Shiryu was the first young master of the Tycoon Shi family of the Chu royal city. Although the Shi family was at the bottom of the Tycoon families, they had a level 8 adept in their ranks, and a grand family like the Yang family could not compare to them. And the reason why Shiryu was so diligent in visiting the Yang family was because of Yang Zishi. He wanted to marry Yang Zishi. In fact, he had already proposed marriage to the chief of the Yang family, Yang Yunji, and Yang Yunji had been tempted, but Yang Zishi had rejected him harshly, even threatening to kill himself. Seeing this, Yang Yunji did not dare to force him further, and could only let nature take its course. From Yang Zishi, Zhou Donghuang found out that Shiryu was a spoiled brat, and in the Chu royal city, many good-looking girls from ordinary families had been ruined by him. No less than 100 girls had chosen to commit suicide because of his infidelity. On the planet of Ziyun, the people were simple and conservative, and girls who had their chastity ruined would not be able to marry again unless they came from a powerful family. Because of this, Yang Zishi hated Shiryu very much, but in order not to implicate the Yang family, she did not dare to offend him. Sister Zishi. Seeing Zhou Donghuang and Yang Zishi walk side by side, Shiryu looked at Zhou Donghuang coldly, but when he looked at Yang Zishi, his face was full of smiles. However, Yang Zishi only glanced at him coldly and ignored him. Shiryu was already used to this and did not mind. But when his gaze returned to Zhou Donghuang, he could not help but laugh coldly. Rascal, I didn't expect you to really dare to come. I want to see how you can cure a poison that even Medicine Master Shao, one of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city, cannot. As he spoke, Shiryu's face was full of schadenfreude. However, from beginning to end, Zhou Donghuang did not even look at Shiryu as he walked into the courtyard and looked at Yang Yunchong and the other two. Where are the golden needles? Here. The second elder of the Yang family, Yang En, handed the embroidered box to Zhou Donghuang. Zhou Donghuang opened it and immediately saw 36 2-inch-long golden needles neatly arranged in the box. The golden needles were very thin, and even compared to embroidery thread, they were not much thicker. "Medicine Master Zhou, can I?" Yang Yunchong, the third master of the Yang family, asked Zhou Donghuang nervously. Only when he saw Zhou Donghuang nod did he heave a sigh of relief. Other than Zishi, the rest wait outside. Just as Zhou Donghuang entered the room with the embroidered box, Yang Yunchong and the rest were about to follow. Zhou Donghuang's voice sounded from inside the room. Immediately Yang Yunchong, Yang Ping, and Yang An stopped in their tracks. "Rascal, why are you acting so mysterious? I want to see how you will cure Chief Yang of the poison." Chapter 78. Inside the closed room, Yang Zishi's eyes were almost dazzled as she watched the young man perform acupuncture on her uncle. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. In the hands of the youth, the 2-inch golden needles seemed to come to life, passing through his clothes and entering her uncle's body. The entire process was as smooth as flowing water. Now Zhou Donghuang was performing acupuncture on Yang Yunji, the chief of the Yang family, which he had learned on Earth in his previous life. In the past, he had used the godly needle of tendon changing and marrow cleansing on freezing wind, which was also an acupuncture technique. Of course, this time he was not using the godly needle of tendon changing and marrow cleansing on Yang Yunji, but a technique called the Big Dipper detoxification needle. The Big Dipper detoxification needle could be used to detoxify and detoxify poison. It was a technique that he had stumbled upon on Earth in his previous life. Furthermore, the Big Dipper detoxification needle had very high requirements for the needles. They had to be 2-inch golden needles, and there had to be 36 of them, corresponding to the 36 Big Dippers. In Yang Zishi's eyes, the youth's movements were as fast as lightning. She could not even see how he performed the needles, and it was a blur to her. When she saw the youth slow down and stop, it was already an hour later. Now, all 36 golden needles were in Yang Yunji's body. "Next, I will hit all the acupuncture points in your body, and with the help of the 36 golden needles, I will detoxify you." Zhou Donghuang looked at Yang Yunji and said lightly, "This process will be a little painful. As long as you can bear with it, I will be able to successfully complete the first treatment today. Get ready, I will begin in 10 breaths." Zhou Donghuang looked at the young girl standing at the side in a daze and said with a smile, "Zishi, inform the people outside. Later, no matter what you hear in the room, do not barge in and disturb me from treating Chief Yang's poison. Otherwise, not only will it be a waste of effort, but it will also endanger Chief Yang's life." Zhou Donghuang's tone became more serious as he said this. The young lady was startled at first, but she quickly reacted and nodded. At the same time she opened the door and walked out. After informing Yang Yunchong and the others, she returned to the room. By the time Yang Zishi closed the door, 10 breaths of time had passed. At the same time, she saw that the hands of the youth that stood before the bed had swiftly flashed out like a bolt of lightning, and it caused her to be dazzled once more. What was different this time was that there were no golden needles in the young man's hands. His hands alternated between fists and palms as they landed on her uncle's body. Bang, 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 bang. As Zhou Donghuang's hands flashed out like lightning, his fists and palms intersected, landing on Yang Yunji's body. Immediately a series of dull thuds rang out. In the beginning, although Yang Yunji felt intense pain all over his body, he still gritted his teeth and endured it. But in the end, the pain grew so intense that he could no longer hold it in and began to cry out. Each cry was more pitiful than the one before, sending chills down anyone's spine. If Yang Zishi had not gone out to inform them beforehand, Yang Yunchong and the others standing outside the room would have already barged into the room. "Third Master Yang, elders, aren't you afraid that the kid will mess around and harm Chief Yang before the poison takes effect?" "Sure you?" asked Yang Yunchong, Yang Ping, and Yang An as he listened to Yang Yunji's incessant cries. "Young Master, sure, rather than waiting for my brother to take effect, I would rather let Medicine Master Zhou have a try," Yang Yunchong said expressionlessly, ignoring Shi Yu's attempts to fan the flames. "Third Master Yang, from what you're saying, you're really pinning your hopes on that unknown kid?" Shi Yu laughed disdainfully. "That kid, even if he really is an inferior level medicine master, how can he compare to Medicine Master Xiao in terms of detoxification? There's no way he can treat a poison that even Medicine Master Xiao is helpless against." Shi Yu said. "Young Master Shi, he's already on the verge of saying that he can cure Chief Yang of the Zhao family. If he's unable to cure Chief Yang of the Zhao family today, we will not let him off easily." Yang Ping said in a low voice, "For now, let him do as he pleases." "That's right." Yang Yin nodded in agreement with Yang Ping's words. After about a quarter of an hour, Yang Yunji's cries finally stopped, and the room regained its peace. In the room, Yang Zishi stared with his mouth agape. Now, Zhou Donghuang was removing the 36 golden needles from Yang Yunji's body. Every time a golden needle was removed, a stream of black poisonous blood flowed out of Yang Yunji's body, staining the clothes nearby black. And with every stream of poisonous blood that flowed out, there was an obvious change in Yang Yunji's body. When Zhou Donghuang removed all 36 golden needles, about 1/5 of Yang Yunji's white hair had turned black. At the same time, the wrinkles on Yang Yunji's face had lessened significantly. Although he still looked old, he looked much younger than before. If the previous Yang Yunji looked like he was in his 60s or 70s, then the current Yang Yunji looked like he was in his early 60s at most. This is too amazing? If he had not seen it with his own eyes, Yang Zishi would not have believed that someone could have such an ability. It was as if a person had become young again in just 2 hours. Amazing. Too amazing. At this moment, this was the only thought in Yang Zishi's mind. Your recovery is better than I thought. From tomorrow onwards, I'll perform acupuncture on you once a day. In another 4 days you won't need me to perform acupuncture on you anymore. After Zhou Donghuang had placed all the golden needles into the box, he said to Yang Yunji, "As long as you continue to take the medicine that I brewed for you every day, in at most 5 or 6 days, you will be back to your peak condition both inside and out." At the same time, Yang Yunji recovered from his shock and hurriedly got off the bed and knelt on the ground, thanking Zhou Donghuang respectfully. "Yang Yunji thanks Medicine Master Zhou for giving me a new lease of life." As the person involved, only he could feel the amazing changes happening to his body at this moment. In the past, he could feel his life draining away at every moment and he was aging at every moment. That feeling made him despair. But now, he realized that his life was no longer draining away, and his body had become much younger. Although it was far from what it had been before he had been poisoned, he still felt full of energy. At this moment, Yang Yunji even felt as if he had returned to heaven from hell. He saw the hope of survival. Because of this, he was truly grateful to Zhou Donghuang for giving him the hope of survival, and he even knelt down to thank him. At this moment, he seemed to have forgotten that he was the chief of the Grand Yang family, and that the person before him was only a youth of about 16 or 17 years old. He only knew that this youth had saved his life. "Remember what I said." Zhou Donghuang glanced lightly at Yang Yunji, then smiled at Yang Zishi before pushing the door open and leaving the room. "Medicine Master Zhou, how is it?" Seeing Zhou Donghuang come out, Yang Yunchong, Yang Ping, and Yang Yin hurriedly went up to him. "Go in and see for yourself," Zhou Donghuang said lightly. Almost as soon as Zhou Donghuang finished speaking, there was suddenly a hearty laugh from within the room. "Ha! Ha!" Hearing the laughter, Yang Yunchong and the other two's eyes lit up, and they rushed into the room immediately. "No, impossible." Hearing the hearty laughter from within the room, Shiryu looked at Zhou Donghuang in disbelief, and then followed him into the room. At the same time, Zhou Donghuang returned to his residence in the Yang family household. Yang Yunchong and the others walked into the room, and after seeing Yang Yunji's current state, they did not even need to ask to know what was going on. "Medicine Master Zhou is really amazing." Yang Yin looked away from the shock and gave a heartfelt compliment. Who would have thought that the poison that even Medicine Master Xiao, one of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city, could do nothing about, could be cured by a 16 or 17-year-old child? Yang Ping could not help but sigh. "Big brother, looking at you now, you must have recovered well?" Yang Yunchong asked excitedly as he looked at Yang Yunji with shining eyes. "Medicine Master Zhou said that starting tomorrow in the next 4 days he will give me 4 more acupuncture treatments, and the poison will be completely removed from my body." Yang Yunji's face was still filled with the excitement of surviving a disaster. It took him a long time to disperse. "As long as I keep drinking the medicine soup that he has prepared for me every day, in 5 or 6 days at most, I will be able to recover to my peak, both inside and outside." "Congratulations, uncle." The young girl stood at the side, a radiant smile on her beautiful face. She had not smiled so easily in a long time. "Zishi, you were the one who invited Medicine Master Zhou back. It is all thanks to you." Yang Yunchong looked at the young girl, his face full of affection. "That's right. Miss Zishi deserves the credit for curing the chief's poison this time." Yang Ping and Yang Yin also looked at the young girl, their faces full of kindness. "How is that possible?" That kid is at most an inferior level medicine master. How could he cure the chief of the Yang family of a poison that even medicine master Xiao could not? Shi Yu, who had followed Yang Yunchong and the others in, looked at Yang Yunji's head of black hair and youthful features, and his face and eyes were full of disbelief. After a moment, he recovered, and without saying goodbye to anyone, he led the old servant out of the room and left the Yang family. Chapter 79. After leaving the Yang family household, Shi Yu first returned to the Shi family, and then went to find Xiao Qin, one of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city. Xiao Qin was an intermediate-level medicine master who had not joined any family. He had his own medicine shop in the Chu royal city, and because he was one of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city, his shop was doing very well. In addition, as one of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city who was best at detoxification, Xiao Qin's shop almost monopolized the entire antidote market in the Chu royal city. Xiao Qin had not joined any family not because no family wanted him, but because he wanted his freedom and did not want to be tied down by any family. If he wanted, he could even join the Chu royal family and become one of the medicine masters there. Of course, his status in the Chu royal family would not be as high as in the tycoon families, because there were already many intermediate-level medicine masters in the Chu royal family. Him going to the Chu royal household was just icing on the cake for the Chu royal household. And joining a tycoon family would not be as high as joining a grand family. Joining a grand family was equivalent to giving them help in their hour of need. Medicine Master Xiao. Although Shi Yu was used to being a spoiled brat, he was still very polite and courteous in front of Xiao Qin, one of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city. Young Master Shi, why have you come looking for an old man like me again? If you want me to treat someone's poison, please leave. Because of what had happened at the Grand Yang family 2 days ago, Xiao Qin had grown to hate Shi Yu, who had invited him to the Yang family, and he immediately asked him to leave. The Yang clan, after he said that he couldn't do anything about the Yang clan's patriarch's poison, they actually sent a low-level medicine master to treat the Yang clan's patriarch. Wasn't this doubting his ability and slapping his face? Medicine Master Xiao, I apologize for what happened 2 days ago. Shi Yu smiled apologetically and said, I'm not here to ask for your help. I'm here to help you. Help me? Xiao Qin was amused and his tone was non-committal. What do I, Xiao Qin, need help from young Master Shi? Medicine Master Xiao, I'm afraid you still don't know. Just 2 days ago, the low-level medicine master that the Yang clan found, who is about 16 or 17 years old, helped Yang Yunji detoxify part of the poison. Shi Yu narrowed his eyes. He was interrupted by Xiao Qin. Impossible. Even I am powerless against Yang Yunji's poison. How could a low-grade apothecary like him be able to? It was obvious that Xiao Qin did not believe Shi Yu at all. Medicine Master Xiao, if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed that kid could cure Yang Yunji's poison. Shi Yu shook his head. Today, after he cured Yang Yunji of the poison, I went in to take a look. At least 1/5 of Yang Yunji's white hair has turned back to black. In addition, he originally looked like he was at least 70 years old, but now the wrinkles on his face have lessened a lot. He looks like he's at most in his early 60s. Hearing Shi Yu's words, Xiao Qin's eyes narrowed. He stared at Shi Yu and asked in a low voice, Is this true? Shi Yu shook his head and said, Medicine Master Xiao, if you don't believe me, you can go to the Yang family and see the patriarch yourself. I have no reason to lie to you about this. In addition, the patriarch of the Yang family, Yang Yunji, said, that kid will treat him for a few more days. After 5 or 6 days, not only will the poison in his body be completely expelled, but his entire body will be restored to its peak condition. As soon as he finished speaking, Shi Yu gave Xiao Qin a meaningful look. Medicine Master Xiao, if that kid really manages to cure Yang Yunji, I'm afraid your reputation will be ruined if word gets out. By then, the news will spread everywhere in the Chu royal city. You, Medicine Master Xiao, the best apothecary among the top 10 apothecaries of the Chu royal city, are not even as good as a 16 or 17-year-old boy. At that time, the business of your medicine store will definitely plummet. Hearing Shi Yu's words, Xiao Qin's face, which had darkened slightly, suddenly turned pale. A tree had its bark and a man had his face. Even if he did not care about the business of his medicine shop, Xiao Qin still valued his face. I want to go to the Yang family mansion. Xiao Qin said in a low voice. I'll go with you. Shi Yu smiled. On the way to the Yang family mansion with Xiao Qin, Shi Yu said, Medicine Master Xiao, actually, even if this matter has already been resolved, there's still a way to salvage it. What do you mean? Xiao Chen asked curiously as he looked at Shiryu. Medicine Master Xiao, think about it, even if that kid really treats Yang Yunji's poison, as long as the Yang family tells the public that it was not him, but you, the news will spread and people will only say that you are capable. Shiryu smiled and said, the poison in Yang Yunji's body was something that even the other 9 of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city could do nothing about, but you were able to cure it. When that time comes, your reputation in the Chu royal city will definitely rise to another level. Xiao Chen's pupils shrank abruptly. You mean to say that after that young man has cured Yang Yunji, I'll step in and let the Yang family take all the credit that should have belonged to that young man? That's right. Shiryu nodded. That kid and the Yang family, what right do they have to do that? Xiao Chen asked in a low voice. Don't worry about that kid. As for the Yang family, as long as the Shi family is willing to give them some benefits, they will naturally sell that kid out. Shiryu said confidently. Hearing Shiryu's words, Xiao Chen seemed to understand something and looked at Shiryu intently. Young Master Shi, you are setting me up? You want me to join the Shi family? That's right. Shiryu nodded, not denying it. Xiao Chen snorted. Even if you want to bribe me without the Shi family's help, I can think of a way to get the Yang family to transfer all the credit from that kid to me. As an intermediate-level apothecary, he could also offer something that would interest the Yang family without the Shi family's help. Once the Shi family helped him, it would be equivalent to putting himself in the Shi family's crosshairs, and he was naturally unwilling. Apothecary Xiao, the problem is, you can bribe the Yang family, but can you bribe me? Shiryu grinned. There was no lack of threat in his words. You. Xiao Chen's eyes flashed with murderous intent. Sensing Xiao Chen's murderous intent, Shiryu did not care and said calmly, do you think I did not inform the Shi family before I went to look for you? After all, this concerns an intermediate-level apothecary joining the Shi family, and not just any intermediate-level apothecary, but one of the top 10 apothecaries of the Chu royal city, Apothecary Xiao. Shiryu looked calm and unperturbed. Unless Xiao Chen did not want to stay in the Chu royal city any longer, he would not dare to kill him. Xiao Chen's eyes flashed with fear and he said in a low voice, as for joining the Shi family, let's wait until we have confirmed that the lad can really cure Yang Yunji of the Yang family. Apothecary Xiao, when you see Yang Yunji later, you don't even have to wait to be sure that the lad can cure Yang Yunchong of the poison. Shiryu smiled. Even now, he still remembered the shock he had felt when he had seen Yang Yunji in his room not long ago. Yang Yunji's transformation could even be described as rejuvenation. Soon Shiryu and Xiao Chen arrived at the Yang family household. The Yang family juniors guarding the main entrance of the Yang family household recognized Shiryu and naturally did not dare to stop them, allowing them to enter. How is this possible? When Xiao Chen saw Yang Yunji again, it was as if he had seen a ghost. His face was full of shock, and the disbelief in his eyes did not fade for a long time. If he had not seen it with his own eyes, he would not have believed that a person could change so dramatically in just 2 days. At this time, he was completely sure that Shiryu had not been exaggerating. Everything was exactly as Shiryu had described. Chief Yang, let me check for the poison in your body. Xiao Chen took a deep breath and suppressed his surging emotions. He then used his own method to examine the poison in Yang Yunji's body. He found that the poison in Yang Yunji's body had been reduced by nearly 30%. Furthermore, it was well suppressed and had stopped spreading. Chief Yang, that young man, did he tell you what poison you were poisoned with? Xiao Chen asked. Although Xiao Chen could not do anything about his poison, Xiao Chen was still one of the top 10 apothecaries of the Chu royal city, and Yang Yunji did not dare offend him. He said honestly, Apothecary Zhou said I was poisoned by a snake. Snake poison? Xiao Chen said without hesitation, that's impossible. 2 days ago when he had checked for the poison in Yang Yunji, he had checked Yang Yunji's body, and there had been no bite marks from a poisonous snake. Furthermore, if he had been bitten by a snake, Yang Yunji would have felt it, and would have told him. At first I thought it was impossible too. Yang Yunji sighed. After all, I was not bitten by a snake and there were no bite marks on my body. But Apothecary Zhou said that it was a poisonous snake that breathes poison, and that there is no need for a bite to transmit the poison. He also said, the poisonous snake that transmitted the poison to me is called a Datura snake. Yang Yunji finished in one breath. Datura snake? Xiao Chen frowned. He racked his brain for a long time, but he could not remember the name of such a poisonous snake. Looks like he just happened to know what poison it was, and he helped Yang Yunji detoxify the poison. Thinking of this, Xiao Qin felt relieved. This did not mean that the other party was better than him, but that he had been lucky enough to know how to detoxify the poison. Chief Yang, farewell. After bidding farewell to Yang Yunji, Xiao Qin and Shi Yu left the Yang family mansion together. As soon as they left, Shi Yu asked with a smile, "Apothecary Xiao, do you think that the young man will be able to detoxify Yang Yunji? I'll go with you to the Shi family." Chapter 80. After returning from Yang Yunji's place, Zhou Donghuang did not practice, but sat at the stone table in the courtyard, drinking tea as he basked in the sun. Brother Zhou. Accompanied by a gentle and melodious voice, a slender and beautiful young girl appeared in Zhou Donghuang's line of sight. It was Yang Zishi. Sit. Zhou Donghuang smiled and gestured for Yang Zishi to sit. Perhaps because of the incident with Qindandan, he had a good impression of this young girl who knew how to repay kindness. Of course, it was just a good impression and no other feelings were mixed in. Brother Zhou, uncle and third uncle asked me to give this to you. The young girl placed the brocade box on the stone table and pushed it towards Zhou Donghuang, opening it at the right time to show it to him. The 10-year survival herb in the brocade box also appeared in front of Zhou Donghuang. The poison in the Yang family chief's body has not been completely detoxified, and you're already giving me this 10-year survival herb? Aren't you worried that I'll fail? Zhou Donghuang shook his head and smiled. Brother Zhou, you must be joking. The young girl laughed lightly. Based on the abilities that the youth had demonstrated in front of her today, she was certain that he would be able to completely detoxify her uncle's poison. Brother Zhou, how do you have such great abilities? Where did you learn those skills from? The young girl asked curiously. Today, the young man in front of her could be said to have dazzled her eyes and shocked her to the point that she felt like a celestial being. In her opinion, such abilities could not be mastered without 8 to 10 years of hard work. I found an ancient book and learned it by myself. Zhou Donghuang was not lying because in his previous life, he had indeed found an ancient book on acupuncture on Earth and learned it by himself. However, the young girl did not really believe Zhou Donghuang's words. She thought that Zhou Donghuang was unwilling to say and did not pursue the matter. Brother Zhou Shi Yu from the Shi family returned today and brought Medicine Master Xiao over. Medicine Master Xiao is said to be the most skilled intermediate-level medicine master among the top 10 medicine masters in the Chu royal city. He was stunned to see Uncle's appearance after you detoxified him. The young lady changed the topic and smiled as she shared the story with Zhou Donghuang. Perhaps he never dreamed that the poison that even he could not do anything about would be cured by a youth. The mandala snake is extremely rare. In the entire country of Yunyang, you might not even be able to find 10 of them. He might not even know the mandala snake, so how could he cure it? Zhou Donghuang was indifferent. Of course, there was one more thing he didn't say. If it was an ordinary poison, even if the source was unknown, an intermediate-level apothecary would also be able to neutralize it. However, the poison of the datura snake was something that only an existence of an earth-level apothecary or above would have the ability to neutralize. Brother Zhou, are you really a low-rank apothecary? The girl asked curiously. Low-level apothecary? Zhou Donghuang was taken aback at first, then he smiled faintly and asked, Zishi, do you think that an inferior-level medicine master can cure your uncle? I can't. The young girl shook her head. She knew what a low-level alchemist was capable of. It was impossible for them to have the ability that the young man had displayed in front of her. In fact, even a mid-level apothecary might not have that ability. Big brother Zhou, could it be that you are an intermediate apothecary? The young girl's beautiful eyes widened, her beautiful face full of surprise as she asked. No. Zhou Donghuang shook his head. Superior-level apothecary? The young girl asked again. Zhou Donghuang shook his head again. Big brother Zhou, are you trying to tell me that you are an earth-level apothecary? The young girl shook her head and asked with a smile. Also no. Zhou Donghuang continued to shake his head. Big brother Zhou, are you trying to tell me that you are a heaven-level apothecary? The young girl asked with a bitter smile. In the entire history of the country of Yunyang, there had never been a heaven-level apothecary, but there had been 1 or 2 earth-level apothecaries. A heaven-level apothecary? Sort of. Zhou Donghuang thought for a moment and nodded. Adepts below the primal core stage were unable to use their inner yuan to condense the samadhi fire, and without the samadhi fire, they could not practice alchemy. A person, no matter how skilled and knowledgeable he was in alchemy, as long as he had not entered the primal core stage, he could at most be considered a heaven-level apothecary. Zhou Donghuang was in such a situation now. In his previous life, not only had he stood at the top of the universe in martial arts, but he had also stood at the top of the universe in alchemy, and no one was a match for him. But now, although he had the best knowledge of alchemy and medicine in the universe, because he had not entered the primal core stage, he could only be considered an apothecary, not a core forging master. A heaven-level apothecary? Barely considered? Hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, the young girl naturally did not believe him, thinking that he was joking. Big brother Zhou, you are really funny. Seeing that the young girl did not believe him, Zhou Donghuang did not say anything more. He had told the truth, and whether others believed him or not was not up to him. And he could not be bothered. After chatting with Zhou Donghuang for a while, the young girl took her leave. Big brother Zhou, I will come back tomorrow morning to visit uncle with you. After the young girl left, Zhou Donghuang returned to his room to formulate a new qi-gathering elixir. Although he could have formulated a qi-gathering elixir that could increase the sensitivity to qi by 9 times, he was not in a hurry to do so. He had been waiting for the Yang family's 10-year survival herb. Now that the 10-year survival herb was in his hands, he could directly formulate an ultimate qi-gathering elixir that could increase the sensitivity to qi by 10 times. With this ultimate qi-gathering elixir, the speed of my practice will be further increased. An hour later in his room, Zhou Donghuang looked at the bottles of ultimate qi-gathering elixir before him, his eyes shining. With the help of this ultimate qi-gathering elixir, and then entering the undistracted state of practice of the Lord of the Four Supremes, my speed of practice will be even faster than before. At this thought, Zhou Donghuang's eyes shone even brighter. Of course, he knew that he could not enter that state of practice for the next few days, because for the next 4 days, he would have to help the patriarch of the Yang family detoxify Yang Yunji's poison once a day. However, although he could not enter that state of practice for the next few days, Zhou Donghuang could not wait to consume the ultimate qi-gathering elixir and begin practicing. Now, in the process of practicing the Lord of the Four Supremes, he could clearly feel that the speed of practice had increased. Compared to before, it was a completely different matter. After practicing until late at night, Zhou Donghuang collapsed onto the bed and fell asleep. He woke up early the next morning and continued practicing. With Zhou Donghuang's current level of practice, he could not treat practice like sleep. In fact, in the boundless universe, only adepts who had attained the primal core stage and above could treat practice like sleep. After attaining the primal core stage, the body could enter a state of sleep when the primal core absorbed spirit energy and practiced. This process would not affect practice. Big brother Zhou. After practicing for about 2 hours, Zhou Donghuang heard the young girl's voice and immediately stopped practicing. He walked out of his room and once again went with the young girl to the residence of the patriarch of the Yang family, Yang Yunji. Just like the day before, Zhou Donghuang left the young girl alone in the room and proceeded to detoxify Yang Yunji. In less than 2 hours, as Zhou Donghuang put the 36 golden needles back into the brocade box, Yang Yunji's robe was once again stained with black, poisoned blood. In addition, almost half of Yang Yunji's hair had turned black. Yang Yunji's face had many fewer wrinkles. After detoxifying the poison the day before, he looked to be in his early 60s, but now he looked even younger than that. Uncle, have a good rest. The young girl bade farewell to Yang Yunji and left with Zhou Donghuang, not lingering as she had the day before. The moment Zhou Donghuang and Yang Yunchong left, the third master of the Yang family, Yang Yunchong, entered the room and smiled at Yang Yunji, who was sitting cross-legged on the bed. Big brother, that girl Zishi seems to have a good impression of medicine Master Zhou. I've never seen her so close to any man of her age before. It's a pity he's from an inferior prefecture. Otherwise I could consider betrothing Zishi to him. In front of Zhou Donghuang, Yang Yunji was very friendly, but now that he mentioned Zhou Donghuang, there was a hint of disdain in his eyes. His expression changed quickly. He had only found out from his niece, Yang Zishi, the day before. Zhou Donghuang came from the inferior Yunfeng prefecture. Big brother, although he's from an inferior prefecture, he's not simple, he can even detoxify your poison. If he and Zishi get together and stay with the Yang family, he'll definitely be of great help to us. Yang Yunchong said. He can detoxify my poison only because he knows the type of poisonous snake it is, so he knows how to detoxify its venom. Yang Yunji said lightly, at his age he's at most an inferior level medicine master. Just an inferior level medicine master, the Yang family doesn't lack one. Although Zhou Donghuang had demonstrated amazing acupuncture techniques in front of Yang Yunji from Yang Yunji's point of view, it was just practice and did not prove anything. A 16 or 17-year-old youth, even if he had mastered such dazzling techniques, could not possibly become an intermediate-level medicine master. To become an intermediate-level medicine master, one's level of medicine had to pass. And how high could a youth's level of medicine be? The chief of the Shi family is here. Just as Yang Yunji finished speaking, the voice of a Yang family disciple came from outside the room. He's accompanied by the young master of the Shi family, Shi Yu, and medicine master Xiao Chen. The chief of the Shi family? Hearing the Yang family disciple's words, Yang Yunji's eyes narrowed. What is he doing here? The Shi family was a tycoon family, and although it was one of the lowest tycoon families, it was not something that a grand family like the Yang family could compare to. He's accompanied by Shi Yu and Xiao Chen. Why do I feel that the chief of the Shi family's arrival has something to do with Medicine Master Zhou helping you detoxify your poison? Chapter 81. The Yang Family Household. In the drawing room. When Yang Yunji, the chief of the Yang family, and Yang Yunchong, the third master of the Yang family, arrived, there were already 3 people waiting for them in the drawing room. One of the 3 sat at the head of the table. He was a middle-aged man dressed in a dark gold robe. He was well-built, had a full beard, and looked dignified. He sat there like a high and mighty person. Although the newcomer was sitting at the head of the table, and it was suspicious that he had taken over the Yang family household, Yang Yunji and Yang Yunchong did not dare to express any displeasure. Not only did they not dare to express any displeasure, but they even bowed to the newcomer as soon as they entered. Yang Yunji pays his respects to Chief Shi. Yang Yunchong pays his respects to Chief Shi. Now, sitting at the head of the table was the chief of the Tycoon Shi family of the Chu royal city, Shi Hao. Besides being the patriarch of the Tycoon Shi family, Shi Hao was also a powerful level 7 adept of Qi gathering, second only to the level 8 adept of Qi gathering in the Shi family. Behind Shi Hao stood 2 people. One of them was his eldest son, Shi Yu, and the other was one of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city, Xiao Chen. At this moment, looking at Yang Yunji, whose head of white hair had almost turned black, Xiao Chen's face was filled with shock, and his eyes were filled with incredulity and shock. Yesterday when he had seen Yang Yunji he had been in a different state. Today Yang Yunji seemed to be a completely different person. Not just Xiao Chen, but even Shi Yu could not hide the shock on his face when he saw Yang Yunji. Of course, both Xiao Chen and Shi Yu realized that the poison in Yang Yunji's body must have been mostly neutralized. Chief Yang, based on the current situation, the poison in your body should be completely neutralized in another 2 or 3 days. Xiao Chen said, looking at Yang Yunji. Not bad. Hearing Xiao Chen mention this, Yang Yunji could not hide his excitement. In another 2 days the poison in my body will be completely neutralized. This is all thanks to Medicine Master Zhou. Although he secretly looked down on that young man, he didn't dare to say anything on the surface. Otherwise he, the dignified patriarch of the Yang family, would become a laughingstock for repaying kindness with enmity. That wasn't something he wanted to see. Medicine Master Zhou? Shi Yu smiled as he looked at Yang Yunji. Patriarch Yang, I'm afraid your words are mistaken? It's obviously Medicine Master Xiao Chen's work. How can you say it's someone else's work? You'll become a laughingstock for being so ungrateful. After saying that, Shi Yu looked at Yang Yunji deeply. Young Master Shi, what do you mean? Yang Yunji subconsciously frowned, and even Yang Yunchong couldn't help but look puzzled. He had no idea why Shi Yu would say such a thing. The young man with the surname Zhou was the one who cured his big brother's poison. Why did he say that it was Medicine Master Xiao Chen's doing? That's what I meant. Just as Yang Yunji and Yang Yunchong were in a daze, Shi Hao, the patriarch of the Tycoon Shi family, spoke up. His voice was like a great bell, carrying with it an unquestionable tone. Yang Yunji and Yang Yunchong instinctively looked at Shi Hao. Shi Hao looked at Yang Yunji and said calmly, in a few days when the poison in your body is completely cured, as long as the Yang family announces that it was Medicine Master Xiao Chen who cured you, the Shi family will give the Yang family a medicine shop near the center of the Chu royal city. Almost at the same time Shi Hao finished speaking, Yang Yunji's eyes suddenly lit up, and his breathing instantly became hurried. A medicine shop near the center of the Chu royal city? Although the Yang family also had medicine shops in the Chu royal city, they were only in remote areas of the city. Compared to the medicine shops near the center of the city, they had very little business. The value of a medicine shop near the center of the Chu royal city was even higher than all the medicine shops owned by the Yang family combined. Patriarch Shi, is this true? Yang Yunji looked at Shi Hao with shining eyes and asked for further confirmation. What? Are you doubting my words? Shi Hao laughed coldly. As the patriarch of a tycoon family, why would I lie to a grand family patriarch like you? What a joke. Patriarch Shi, please don't blame me, I was just too excited. Yang Yunji laughed awkwardly. Do you agree to this? Shi Hao asked calmly. Yes, of course I agree. Yang Yunji nodded without hesitation, as if afraid that Shi Hao would go back on his word if he agreed too late. Big brother. At the same time, Yang Yunchong recovered and said to Yang Yunji with an ugly expression, if you agree to this, how will you tell Medicine Master Zhou? That doesn't seem very good. Besides, if Zishi knows about this, she will definitely not agree. Yang Yunchong voiced out his concerns. Yang Yunji laughed coldly. That Medicine Master Zhou is just a country bumpkin from an inferior level prefecture. Just give him some silver. Even if he is not satisfied, what can he do? Can he go against the Yang family? As for Zishi, she is just a little girl, what can she know? Yang Yunji said calmly. Yang Yunchong laughed bitterly but did not say anything else. After all, the promise made by the patriarch of the Shi family was too tempting, and if he was in his brother's position, he might have chosen to agree. There is one more thing. Shi Hao continued, my son Shiryu has taken a liking to Yang Zishi of the Yang family. As long as the Yang family marries her to my son, the Shi family will provide the Yang family with valuable prescriptions in the future, and guarantee that the profits of all the medicine shops under the Yang family will more than double. Shi Hao's promise also tempted Yang Yunji, and his breathing stagnated. But he could only laugh bitterly at Shi Hao's conditions. Patriarch Shi, you don't know. My niece Zishi has a stubborn personality, and I have no way of forcing her to marry young Master Shi. If I had a way, I would have married Zishi to young Master Shi when he came to propose. But that girl Zishi threatened to kill herself and I could not do anything about it. As Yang Yunji spoke, he let out a long sigh. He was sighing now, not only because of his helplessness at Zishi's stubborn personality, but also because the Yang family had missed out on the prescriptions that the Shi family could provide. I heard this from my son. Shi Hao was not surprised by Yang Yunji's words and said lightly, so, Patriarch Yang, you have another choice. If she refuses to marry my son, as long as you expel her from the Yang family, and announce to the public that she is no longer a member of the Yang family, the Shi family can also provide the prescriptions to the Yang family. Shi Hao said. Yang Yunchong's expression changed at Shi Hao's words. Yang Yunji, on the other hand, looked at Shi Hao with shining eyes. The prescription you provide will also double the profits of all the medicine shops under the Yang family? When he saw Shi Hao nod, he immediately agreed. All right, I agree. Big brother? Yang Yunchong had never imagined that his big brother would agree to this, and his expression darkened as he said in a low voice, if you do this, how can you face the dead second brother? Don't forget. That year, second brother and second sister-in-law were killed by the horse bandits to save your life and protect you from them. As he spoke, Yang Yunchong's expression darkened. Back then, even if second brother and second sister-in-law did not protect me, they would not have escaped death. Faced with Yang Yunchong's rebuke, Yang Yunji's expression did not change as he said indifferently, it is true that they saved me, but all these years I have also raised their only daughter. No matter what, we are even. Now that their daughter has grown up, it is only right for her to make some contributions to the family. Yang Yunji said matter-of-factly. Hearing Yang Yunji's words, Yang Yunchong said in a low voice, I will not agree to this. It is not up to you whether you agree or not. Yang Yunji's cold gaze swept over Yang Yunchong. I am the one in charge of the Yang family, not you. If you want to expel Zishi from the Yang family, then expel me as well. Yang Yunchong glared at Yang Yunji. You don't care about her, I do. Noisy. Shi Hao shouted impatiently as soon as Yang Yunchong finished speaking. He rose from his seat and charged at Yang Yunchong like a cheetah. Bang. Yang Yunchong did not even have time to react before he was sent flying by Shi Hao's punch, crashing heavily into the wall of the living room and losing all signs of life. Yang Yunchong was only a level 5 adept of Qi gathering, and in front of a level 7 adept like Shi Hao, he could not withstand a single blow. Even if Shi Hao had not launched a sneak attack, Yang Yunchong would not have been able to withstand Shi Hao's blow. Chief Yang, you don't mind if I help you clean up the Yang family? After killing Yang Yunchong with one blow, Shi Hao looked at the dazed Yang Yunji and asked with a grin. Yang Yunji paled in fright and waved his hands hurriedly. I don't mind. Thank you, Chief Shi, for helping us clean up the Yang family. Would he dare to mind? Shi Hao was an outstanding level 7 adept, and it would be easy for him to kill Zhou Donghuang. Of course, because of the ban imposed by the imperial court, Shi Hao would not dare to kill him, a grand family chief, but it would not be a problem to give him some physical pain. In the country of Yunyang, the great families were not allowed to wipe out their entire families or shake their foundations. Any family that rose to prominence only needed to register with the king's household as a family, and it would be equivalent to having the king's household as an umbrella. And behind the king's household was the imperial court. The imperial ban was enforced by all the king's households. And the reason for this ban was that the imperial court had the intention of establishing order in the country, with the aim of maintaining the stability of the country. Otherwise, with the killing of families everywhere, the people of Yunyang would not be able to make a living, and that was not what the imperial court wanted. As long as that slut is expelled from the Yang family, without the protection of the Yang family, she is destined to be a fish on my chopping board at my mercy. Seeing that Yang Yunji had agreed, Shi Yu's eyes lit up. This request from his father was his suggestion, and it was a reward from his father. Chapter 82. Early morning, September 14, 1228 of the Ziyun era. Brother Zhou. Today was the third day that Zhou Donghuang was preparing to perform acupuncture on the head of the Yang family, Yang Yunji. The young lady had come looking for Zhou Donghuang early in the morning. Zhou Donghuang responded and walked out of the room. Together with the young girl, they went to Yang Yunji's residence. Where's third uncle? The young lady was a little surprised that she didn't see the Yang clan's third master, Yang Yunchong. Normally speaking, her third uncle would be present. I asked your third uncle to take care of something. He'll be back in a few days. The chief of the Yang family, Yang Yunji, walked out of the room to welcome Zhou Donghuang and said kindly to the young girl. He then looked at Zhou Donghuang and bowed slightly, gesturing for him to enter the room. Medicine Master Zhou, please? Yes. Zhou Donghuang nodded and walked into the room first. Yang Yunji and the girl followed him inside. In less than 2 hours, Zhou Donghuang had finished another round of acupuncture for Yang Yunji. Tomorrow I will come over to perform the last round of acupuncture for you, and then the poison in your body will be completely removed. At that time, as long as you take the prescription I've prepared and recover for 2 days, your body will be able to recover to its peak state. Zhou Donghuang said. Thank you, Medicine Master Zhou. Yang Yunji thanked her profusely. At this time, the remaining half of Yang Yunji's hair had turned white, and the other half had turned black. There weren't many wrinkles on his face, and he looked like he was at most in his early 50s. In just 3 days, he had turned from a 70-year-old to a 50-year-old. If word of this got out, it would definitely scare a lot of people. Of course, no one would believe it unless they saw it with their own eyes. Not long after Zhou Donghuang returned, just as he was about to start practicing, the young girl came looking for him again. This time, her expression was a little ugly. Zishi, what are you doing? Big brother Zhou, I just met 2 of our Yang family's elders, and I heard them talking about Big Uncle's rejuvenation. The girl said in a deep voice. They said that it was Medicine Master Xiao Qin who helped Uncle detoxify the poison. Big brother Zhou, you were the one who detoxified Uncle's poison. How can you say that Xiao Qin did it? I explained it to them, but they didn't believe me. They even said that a young man like you couldn't possibly have the ability to cure Uncle's poison. I asked them where they got the news from, and they said that they heard it from other elders. I got to the bottom of it and found the elder who spread the news. Do you know what he said? He said it was my uncle who told him that. How is this possible? So, I went to find my uncle. Sure enough, my uncle said that he didn't say anything like that. He even told everyone that Big Brother Zhou helped him detoxify the poison. Speaking up to this point, the young lady was still panting with anger as she consoled Zhou Donghuang. Don't worry, Big Brother Zhou, Uncle has said that he will definitely punish the elder who spread the rumors. Zishi, you came just for this? Zhou Donghuang shook his head and smiled, feeling that the young lady was making a mountain out of a molehill. To him, this was an insignificant matter. Even if the Yang family's patriarch, Yang Yunji, refused to acknowledge his contribution and said that it was someone else's work, he wouldn't care. This was because he had helped the Yang family patriarch cure the poison in order to obtain the 10-year survival grass. Brother Zhou, don't you think this is very infuriating? The girl said hatefully. Yes, it is indeed very infuriating. Zhou Donghuang smiled and nodded. His gaze on the young lady had unknowingly become even gentler, although he did not care about that. However, the young lady's concern still made him feel a surge of warmth in his heart. Brother Zhou, my uncle doesn't know about this, please don't take your anger out on him. The young lady looked at Zhou Donghuang timidly and said softly. Don't worry. Zhou Donghuang nodded. Hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, the young lady heaved a sigh of relief and smiled as she said goodbye to Zhou Donghuang. Brother Zhou, then I won't disturb you anymore. I'll come back tomorrow morning. After the young lady left, Zhou Donghuang returned to his room to practice. He practiced all the way until the next morning before leaving his room to wait for the young lady in the courtyard. Brother Zhou. When the young lady arrived, Zhou Donghuang went with her to find the Yang family patriarch Yang Yunji. 2 hours later, Zhou Donghuang kept the golden needles and said to Yang Yunji, Chief Yang, the poison in your body has been completely purged. Now the wrinkles on Yang Yunji's face were gone, and the white hair on his head was gone. He had returned to his original appearance, and he stared at the mirror in a daze for a long time before coming to his senses. Thank you, Medicine Master Zhou. Seeing that the poison had been completely purged, Yang Yunji nodded at Zhou Donghuang. He did not bow and thank Zhou Donghuang like he had the day before. Seeing this, the young lady standing by the side frowned slightly, feeling that her uncle was being a little rude. But Zhou Donghuang did not mind. He looked at the brocade box containing the golden needles and said to Yang Yunji, Chief Yang, the Yang family has no use for this set of golden needles. Why don't you give it to me? Although there were 36 golden needles, they were extremely light and did not cost much. If Zhou Donghuang had wanted to get them himself, he could have just instructed Fu. But now that he had them, he could save himself some trouble and he was happy to do so. Medicine Master Zhou, I want to study these golden needles, so I'm afraid it's not convenient for me to give them to you. Yang Yunji said lightly. Hearing this, Zhou Donghuang was stunned at first, then put down the brocade box. If that's the case, forget it. Just then the young lady could not stand it anymore. She stood up and said to Yang Yunji, Uncle, since big brother Zhou wants these golden needles, let's give them to him. As she said this, the young lady was a little puzzled. Why did her uncle seem to be a different person today? Zishi, I have my own plans. Yang Yunji looked at the young lady and then at Zhou Donghuang. Medicine Master Zhou, I have something to say to my niece. Can you leave for a moment? Zhou Donghuang nodded lightly and walked out of the room, preparing to return. But just as he walked out of the room and left the courtyard, he heard the young lady's furious voice from the room in the courtyard behind him. Fine. I'll leave the Yang family. Even if I, Yang Zishi, leave the Yang family and starve to death, I will never agree to marry that playboy Shiryu. Hearing the young lady's voice, Zhou Donghuang stopped in his tracks and frowned slightly. A moment later he saw the young girl running out of the room angrily. Her beautiful cheeks were covered with tears like rain. She was lovely and touching and he couldn't help but feel pity for her. Big brother Zhou. Seeing that Zhou Donghuang had not left, the young lady reached out to wipe away the tears on her face, but they could not stop falling. Even though Zhou Donghuang had 1,000 years of memories from his previous life and had seen many things, seeing the young lady like this, he could not help but feel his heart ache. What's wrong? As the young lady cried, she said, Uncle wants me to marry that Shiryu, and if I don't agree, he'll chase me out of the Yang family. Now the young lady's voice was trembling, showing how agitated she was. He can even say such things? Zhou Donghuang frowned. Could it be that he's just saying it out of anger? It's not out of anger. The young lady shook her head. I know Uncle very well. There are some things that either you don't say or once you say it, it's a done deal. Big brother Zhou, I'll leave first. I'll pack up and leave the Yang family. Now, I don't want to stay here a moment longer. After bidding farewell to Zhou Donghuang, the young lady jogged off, crying as she ran, leaving a trail of tears on the floor. Zhou Donghuang's expression darkened, and he entered the courtyard once again, entering Yang Yunji's room. What? Zhou Donghuang looked at Yang Yunji and asked in a low voice, Do you know that Zishi respects you like a father? And you, in order to force her to marry someone she doesn't like, you actually said that you want to chase her out of the Yang family? Medicine Master Zhou, this is a family matter of the Zhao family, you don't have to worry about it. Faced with Zhou Donghuang's questioning, Yang Yunji said lightly. Are you sure? You didn't say that to scare her? Zhou Donghuang asked in a low voice. I, Yang Yunji, am the chief of the Yang family, and my words carry enormous weight. Why would I scare her? Yang Yunji laughed coldly. Medicine Master Zhou, if you can persuade her, please persuade her. As long as she is willing to marry young Master Shi, she will still be a member of the Yang family, and she can continue to enjoy glory and wealth. Hearing Yang Yunji's words, Zhou Donghuang's eyes flashed coldly and he did not say anything more. He directly returned to his guest room, got Fu to tidy up, and brought Fu along to find the young lady. When they found the young lady, she was just about to leave with Aunt May. Brother Zhou? Seeing Zhou Donghuang walk over with Fu, the young lady and Aunt May could not help but be stunned. The young lady's face was still wet with tears. And Aunt May's anger had not dissipated. I am also preparing to leave the Yang family, let's go together. Zhou Donghuang smiled. Walking out of the Yang family mansion with the young lady, Zhou Donghuang asked the young lady, "Where are you going next?" The young lady hesitated for a moment, then said, "I am preparing to find a sister and temporarily stay with her. Let me send you there." Zhou Donghuang smiled. "Brother Zhou, you don't have a place to stay in the capital at the moment? When I see my sister, I will ask her to take you in." The young lady forced a smile as she spoke to Zhou Donghuang. At the main entrance of the Grand Zheng family mansion. "Miss Zishi, our mistress has instructed. If you have been expelled from the Yang family and are seeking shelter with her, we cannot let you in. At the same time, she wants me to tell you that you are no match for her, and that you should agree to marry young Master Shi." The Zheng family disciple guarding the door said to the young lady. "Sister Lily, did she really say that?" The young lady's face paled. "Yes." The Zheng family disciple nodded. At the main entrance of the Grand Xia family mansion. The young lady was once again turned away. "Miss Zishi, our mistress said that if you are willing to marry young Master Shi, you will still be sisters. If not, your sisterhood ends here." Zhou Donghuang followed the young lady, repeatedly being rejected. Chapter 83. They are all so heartless? The young girl's face was pale and desolate. She had never imagined that the daughters of the grand families, whom she had treated like sisters, would turn against her the moment she was expelled from the Yang family. Not only did they turn against her, but they were also pushing her into the fire pit. In the past, she had told them more than once that she would rather die than marry the young master of the Shi family, Shi. Now were they forcing her to die? "Zishi, let's find an inn to stay in for the time being," Zhou Donghuang sighed. He did not know how to comfort the young girl because this was the reality, and it had always been so. Anyone would be happy to help. But no one was willing to help in the hour of need. "No. I don't believe it. I don't believe it." The young girl shook her head, her face full of indignation. Then she brought Zhou Donghuang to the mansions of two other grand families, but the result was the same. They were turned away. "Young mistress, let's listen to Medicine Master Zhou and find an inn to stay in." Auntie May sighed. "Now you've already looked for all the people you could find." "No, there's one more." The young girl's face was full of stubbornness. "One more?" Oh. Aunt May started. She knew all the friends of her young mistress, but she did not remember anyone else besides the people her young mistress had just asked. "Renjiape," the young girl said in a low voice. "Renjiape? The daughter of the Grand Ren family?" Aunt May smiled bitterly. "Young mistress, you and that young mistress Ren did not interact much? The only time you met her was 10 years ago, when she was almost hit by the carriage of the Tycoon Kong family's patriarch. You pulled her out in time and saved her life. Although that was a life-saving favor, how old was she then? How would she remember?" Aunt May shook her head. "That year, the Ren family chief brought her to the Yang family to thank the chief and gave him a generous gift. After that, you did not interact with her again. The Chu royal city was not big, but it was not small either. The reason why Yang Zishi and Renjiape had not interacted after that year was because Renjiape had left the Ren family with her mother and left the Chu royal city. They had been gone for a whole 10 years and had only returned a month ago." Hearing Aunt May's story, Zhou Donghuang could not help but shake his head. He did not think that the young mistress of the Ren family would take in the young girl at such a time. "Big brother Zhou, the last one. This is the last person I'm looking for. If even she doesn't want to take me in, I'll go with you to the inn." The young lady said to Zhou Donghuang. "Let's go." Zhou Donghuang nodded. On the way to the Ren family, Zhou Donghuang learned from Aunt May that although the Ren family was also a grand family, they were much stronger than the Yang family. The Yang family only had one level 6 adept of Qi gathering. However, the Ren clan had 3. Because of this, the status of the Ren family in the Chu royal city was much higher than that of the Yang family. Of course, they couldn't compare to the Tycoon Shi family. Very quickly, Zhou Donghuang and the group arrived at the main entrance of the Ren family household. "I'm Yang Zishi, I'm looking for your young mistress Renjiape." The successive defeats caused the young girl to not hold much hope, and she lacked confidence when she spoke to the two Ren clan disciples that were guarding the entrance of the Ren clan estate. Yang Zishi? One of the Ren family juniors started, then asked with a serious expression, "Are you young Mistress Zishi of the Grand Yang family?" "I used to be, but now I've been expelled from the Yang family." Yang Zishi shook her head and laughed at herself. But the Ren family junior's next words surprised everyone, including Zhou Donghuang. "Young Mistress Zishi, our young mistress instructed us yesterday that if you came to look for her, we should bring you to the drawing room immediately and inform her." "Young Mistress Zishi, please." With that, the Ren family junior led Yang Zishi, Zhou Donghuang, and the rest into the Ren family household and led them to the drawing room. "Young Mistress Zishi, please wait here for a moment, I'll inform our young mistress." After bidding farewell to the young lady, the Ren family junior jogged out of the drawing room. "I didn't expect this, I really didn't expect this." Aunt May looked at the young lady in disbelief and shook her head. "That young Mistress Ren, you haven't seen her in 10 years, right? I didn't expect that when you were in trouble, she would be more reliable than the young mistresses of the grand families that you usually interact with. I didn't expect this, I really didn't expect this." Aunt May still couldn't believe it. But now, Zhou Donghuang was thinking about something else. Just now, the Ren family junior had said that their young mistress had instructed them yesterday that if Yang Zishi came, they should bring her to the drawing room and inform her? That meant that young Mistress Ren already knew that Yang Zishi would be expelled from the Yang family yesterday. And those young mistresses of the grand families who are on good terms with Zishi obviously knew about this long ago, which is why they instructed the juniors guarding the door to keep Zishi out. Thinking of this, Zhou Donghuang's eyes narrowed slightly. It was the chief of the Yang family who had already spoken to the daughters of the grand families, telling them not to take Zishi in? Or could it be the Tycoon Shi family? By now, Zhou Donghuang had already guessed many things. Suddenly, Zhou Donghuang's ears twitched as he heard a flurry of footsteps approaching. Although it was a distance away, he could still hear it. And this was all due to the Lord of the Four Supremes that he practiced. Practicing the Lord of the Four Supremes had not only strengthened his qi, but his eyesight and hearing had also improved rapidly. Just as Zhou Donghuang was looking outside the drawing room, Sister Zishi, accompanied by a melodious yet somewhat childish voice, a fiery red figure walked in from outside. This was a young girl wearing a fiery red tight-fitting leather jacket. She was about 14 or 15 years old and had a hot and sexy figure. Her pretty face revealed a hint of immaturity and mature charm. The contradictory combination added a bit of a strange charm to the young girl. "Sister Zishi, it's been 10 years and you've become even more beautiful." As soon as the red-clothed girl came in, she walked in front of Yang Zishi. A bright smile appeared on her face. 2 dimples were faintly discernible, and her gaze softened. "Here, Sister Jiape?" Looking at the young lady in red, Yang Zishi's expression was blank. She could not reconcile this slender and sexy young lady with the crybaby of so many years ago. "What? You don't even recognize me?" Ren Jiape smiled. "No, it's just that, Sister Jiape, you've changed a little too much." Yang Zishi smiled bitterly. "After all, it's been 10 years, so it's normal for me to change so much. In the month that I've been back, my level of practice was on the verge of a breakthrough, so I did not look for you, intending to look for you after I broke through." At this point, Ren Jiape paused and a cold light flashed in her eyes. "But I did not expect that before I broke through, the Shi family would come looking for me. They put on the airs of a tycoon family and threatened me with both kindness and authority. They told me that if I were to be chased out of the Yang family, I would not be able to take you in. Originally, I thought that the head of the Yang family would not chase you out of the Yang family. I did not expect that he would actually do so." At this point, Ren Jiape's expression turned angry. "As far as I know, if not for your parents saving his life, he would have died at the hands of the bandits. What an ungrateful villain. It looks like the Shi family has given him many benefits." The more Ren Jiape spoke, the angrier she became. However, when Ren Jiape looked at Yang Zishi again, the anger on her face had completely vanished. "Sister Zishi, from now on, the Ren family is your home. You can stay as long as you like. Others might be afraid of the Shi family, but I, Ren Jiape, am not." "Thank you, Sister Jiape." Yang Zishi thanked her gratefully. "There's no need to thank me. If not for you, I would have been run over by that carriage that suddenly appeared." Ren Jiape shook her head and smiled. "Sister Jiape, I will not introduce Aunt May, you've met her before." Yang Zishi looked at Zhou Donghuang and introduced him to Ren Jiape. This is big brother Zhou Donghuang, he is a medicine master, my uncle. At this point Yang Zixi expression turned pained and she corrected herself. The poison in the Yang family chief Yang Yunji was personally cured by big brother Zhou. Big brother Zhou. Ren Jiapai followed Yang Zixi in calling Zhou Donghuang big brother, and Zhou Donghuang, who had a good impression of Ren Jiapai, smiled and greeted her. Miss Ren. Sister Zixi, something's not right. Ren Jiapai looked at Yang Zixi and frowned. These 2 days the news in the Chu royal city is that the poison in the Yang family chief Yang Yunji was cured by one of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city, Medicine Master Xiao Chen. Medicine Master Yang Yunji, because of this incident, has become even more famous than the other 9 of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city, because none of them could do anything about Yang Yunji's poison. Ren Jiapai said. It's not like that. Yang Zixi shook her head. The cure for my eldest? Yang Yunji's poison has nothing to do with Xiao Chen. I saw the entire process with my own eyes and only big brother Zhou did it. But this news has been verified by many sources, and it was spread by the Yang family chief Yang Yunji. Ren Jiapai frowned again. There's one more thing. That medicine master Xiao Chen has now joined the Shi family and has become the Shi family's medicine master. Many people find this strange. In the past, when Xiao Chen was not so famous, he did not even bother to join the Shi family, so why is he joining now? Furthermore, although the Shi family is a tycoon family in the Chu royal city, where tycoon families are everywhere, it is only one of the bottom. As she spoke, Ren Jiapai's face was full of confusion, because this was really incomprehensible. Yang Yunji said himself that it was Xiao Chen who cured him of the poison. Chapter 84. It was big brother Zhou who helped him detoxify the poison. How can he say that someone else did it? Has his conscience been eaten by a dog? In his rage, Yang Zixi spat out a mouthful of blood and fainted. Zhou Donghuang caught him in time to prevent him from falling to the ground. Miss? Aunt May's expression changed. Miss Ren, please arrange a place for Zixi to rest. Zhou Donghuang said to Ren Jiapai, who had turned pale with fright as he supported Yang Zixi. Ren Jiapai was only a young girl after all, so it was normal for her to be frightened. However, after hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, she hurriedly responded and led Zhou Donghuang and the others out of the hall. Ren Jiapai did not bring Zhou Donghuang and the rest to the guest room, but to the courtyard where she lived. This is the courtyard where my mother and my father lived when they were separated. I'll be staying here since I'm back. There are many rooms here, so you can stay here with me from now on. This way I can take better care of Sister Zixi. As Ren Jiapai spoke, she had Zhou Donghuang carry Yang Zixi back to her room, as the other rooms had not been tidied up yet. Big brother Zhou, is Sister Zixi all right? Ren Jiapai asked worriedly as she stood at the head of the bed and looked at Zhou Donghuang, who had just placed Yang Zixi on the bed. She's fine, Zixi is just suffering from a heart attack. She will be fine after some rest. Zhou Donghuang shook his head and led the way out of the room. Let her rest well, no one is to disturb her. All right. Ren Jiapai and Aunt May followed him out. As for Fu, he was helping the servant girls of the Ren family tidy up the other rooms. After Aunt May came out, she also went to help. Big brother Zhou, did you really detoxify the poison in the Yang family chief Yang Yunji and not Xiao Chen? After confirming that Yang Zixi was fine, Ren Jiapai heaved a sigh of relief. She could not suppress her curiosity and looked at Zhou Donghuang. What? You don't believe Zixi? Zhou Donghuang smiled faintly, not displeased by the young girl's questioning of him. Firstly, he was not such a petty person, and secondly, this young girl's temperament suited his taste. Of course I believe Sister Zixi words, I'm just a little surprised. Ren Jiapai smiled awkwardly. When Zixi brought me to the Yang family to treat Yang Yunji, Xiao Chen had just finished treating Yang Yunji and said that he was powerless. After that, I spent 4 days helping Yang Yunji detoxify the poison. Yang Yunji announced to the public that it was Xiao Chen who cured him of the poison, and that Xiao Chen joined the Shi family after that. It seems like Yang Yunji, Xiao Chen, and the Shi family have reached some kind of agreement. If I am not wrong, Zixi's expulsion from the Yang family should be part of the agreement. As he spoke, Zhou Donghuang's eyes flashed coldly. He didn't think much of this matter. However, Yang Yunji had hurt Yang Zixi because of this, and this was something that he could not bear to watch with folded arms. Moreover, Yang Zixi had rejected Shiryu before, and Yang Yunji didn't expel Yang Zixi from the Yang family, but this time Yang Zixi was expelled from the Yang family. He vaguely felt that this matter had a lot to do with him. And it turned out that Zhou Donghuang had guessed correctly. The next day Rin Jiape returned from outside and called Zhou Donghuang and Yang Zishi together. Her pretty face was unusually solemn. "Big brother Zhou, sister Zishi." Rin Jiape went straight to the point and said, "Just today the Shi family gave one of their medicine shops near the city center to the Yang family, and the Yang family is already taking over. In addition, the various medicine shops of the Yang family have many new elixirs and elixirs on sale today, and these elixirs and elixirs are not something that the inferior level medicine masters of the Yang family can make. Most importantly, the Shi family's medicine shops have put these elixirs and elixirs on sale at the same time. If I am not wrong, these elixirs and elixirs are all made by Xiao Qin, one of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city." At this point, Rin Jiape paused before continuing. "In addition, I asked someone to find out something from a direct descendant of the Shi family who is very close to Shiryu. Xiao Qin joined the Shi family because Shiryu personally pulled the strings. Shiryu personally told the scion of the Shi family that the Shi family would give the Yang family a shop, and that the Yang family would announce to the public that Yang Yunji's poison was cured by Xiao Qin, helping Xiao Qin raise his reputation in the Chu royal city. And the price that Xiao Qin has to pay is to join the Shi family for 3 years. In addition, the patriarch of the Shi family, Shi Hao, in order to reward Shiryu for pulling the strings to get Xiao Qin to join the Shi family, promised to provide the Yang family with some elixirs and help the Yang family's medicine shop business rise. And the price that the Yang family has to pay is for sister Zishi to marry Shiryu." At this point Rin Jiape glanced at Yang Zishi. Yang Zishi clenched her fists tightly, her body trembling. She had never imagined that her uncle would secretly make such an unacceptable deal with the Shi family. Of course, if sister Zishi insists on not marrying, as long as the Yang family kicks her out of the Yang family, the Shi family will still give the Yang family those elixirs. This was also Shiryu's idea. He wanted to appear in front of sister Zishi when she was chased out of the Yang family and no one would take her in. He wanted her to see him as her last hope, and from there, he would possess her. The Shi family disciple who came to the Rin family to look for me was also arranged by him, but he did not expect that I would still take sister Zishi in. Rin Jiape continued. "Shiryu." Zhou Donghuang's eyes flashed coldly, and at the same time he realized that his guess was right. It was he who had caused Zishi to end up like this. Suddenly he could not help but feel guilty. "There's one more thing." Suddenly Rin Jiape looked at Yang Zishi, her expression turning serious. "It's about Third Master Yang. Third uncle? What happened to third uncle?" Seeing Rin Jiape's expression, Yang Zishi had a bad feeling, and his expression changed as he asked anxiously. "Third Master Yang is dead." Rin Jiape sighed. "Third uncle is dead?" Yang Zishi's face was pale and he was stunned for a moment. His eyes were bloodshot as he asked in a low voice, "Sister Jiape, do you know when third uncle died?" September 13th. Rin Jiape was referring to September 13th, 1228 of the Ziyun era, which was also the day Zhou Donghuang had given Yang Yunji acupuncture treatment for the second time. According to the direct descendant of the Shi family, Shiryu told him. At that time Yang Yunji had agreed to kick sister Zishi out of the Yang family, but third master Yang was unwilling and was killed by Shi Hao. After third master Yang died, Yang Yunji still thanked Shi Hao for helping him clean up the family. At this point Rin Jiape's speech slowed down, and she looked at Yang Zishi carefully. "Zishi, your third uncle. He did not give up on you. Third uncle." Yang Zishi raised her head and let out a mournful cry. Her eyes were bloodshot, and her tightly clenched fists were bleeding profusely. The corners of her mouth were also bleeding from her clenched teeth. Whoosh! Zhou Donghuang's eyes flashed coldly, and he immediately stood up and said to Yang Zishi, "Zishi, come with Big Brother Zhou. Today Big Brother Zhou will bring you to the Yang family and the Shi family to seek justice for you." The Yang family? The Shi family? In Zhou Donghuang's eyes they were just ants. Zhou Donghuang's sudden outburst gave Rin Jiape a fright, and she smiled bitterly. "Big Brother Zhou, I know you feel indignant on Zishi's behalf, but that is the Yang family, the Shi family. So what?" Zhou Donghuang laughed coldly, his face full of contempt and disdain. "The Yang family is a grand family, and although it is at the bottom of the grand families, it has a level 6 adept, and that is Yang Yunji, the patriarch of the Yang family." Rin Jiape said patiently, "The Shi family is a tycoon family, and although it is also at the bottom of the grand families, it has a level 8 adept. In addition, the Shi family has many level 7 adepts, including Shi Hao, the patriarch of the Shi family." At this point, Zhou Donghuang glanced at Ren Jiapai and asked, "Are you done?" "Big brother Zhou Yu." Just as Ren Jiapai was in a daze, unsure where this youth's confidence came from, Zhou Donghuang had already raised his right hand and pressed it down on the stone table beside him. Bang! With a loud sound, the entire stone table shook and turned into a pile of stone powder, crashing to the ground and kicking up a cloud of dust. This? Ren Jiapei's eyes widened in shock and she could not recover her wits for a long time. Yang Zishi had also recovered from the shock of the sudden sound, and the mournful expression on his face froze as he looked at the pile of stone powder in front of him, dumbfounded. Gulp, gulp. Finally it was Ren Jiapei who swallowed hard, losing her composure. She looked at the youth in front of her as if she had seen a ghost. The youth was tall and slender, dressed in clothes whiter than snow. His handsome features had a tinge of immaturity, and his eyes were so deep that no one could see through him. Most importantly, this youth looked to be at most 16 or 17 years old. If she had not seen it with her own eyes, she would not have believed that a youth of this age could smash the stone table in her courtyard into such a state. Even if her father, the patriarch of the Ren family, a level 6 adept of qi gathering, could shatter a stone table with one palm, he could not possibly shatter it to such a state, could he? Now the stone table had been completely turned into dust, and not a single piece was left intact. One could only imagine the terrifying force that had caused it to be in such a state. "Zishi, follow big brother Zhou." Zhou Donghuang called out to Yang Zishi once more, then strode out of the courtyard and towards the main gate of the Ren family mansion. Big brother Zhou is actually this powerful. Chapter 85. Big brother Zhou, sister Zishi, wait for me. As Zhou Donghuang and Yang Zishi walked out of the courtyard, Ren Jiapai finally regained her composure and hurriedly chased after them. Big brother Zhou, the Shi family has a level 8 adept. Are you confident? Although Yang Zishi had just witnessed Zhou Donghuang's terrifying power, she did not know exactly what level of adept Zhou Donghuang was, and could only confirm that he was stronger than her uncle Yang Yunji. Although she had not attained level 1 of qi gathering, she knew that a level 6 adept would not be able to smash the stone table to such a state. A level 8 adept of qi gathering? Hearing Yang Zishi's words, Zhou Donghuang's lips curled in disdain. With his current level 7 of qi gathering in the country of Yunyang, no one below level 9 of qi gathering could be his match. Ren Jiapai caught up just in time to hear Yang Zishi's question to Zhou Donghuang and see the disdainful smile on Zhou Donghuang's face. Instantly her heart trembled. Big brother Zhou? Is he not afraid of even a level 8 adept? He looks like he's only 16 or 17 years old. Looking at the youth, Ren Jiapai could not hide the shock on her face. She could not imagine how such a young youth could have such great power. This was illogical. Big brother Zhou, if you are not confident, we won't go. Yang Zishi did not see the disdainful smile on Zhou Donghuang's face. Seeing that Zhou Donghuang did not respond to her, she thought that he was not confident and stopped in her tracks. She did not continue to follow Zhou Donghuang. After stopping, Yang Zishi took a deep breath. Third uncle has already left. I don't want anything to happen to you. Just then Zhou Donghuang also stopped in his tracks and turned to walk towards Yang Zishi, smiling as he said, "Silly girl, don't worry, a mere level 8 adept is nothing to your big brother Zhou." Walking up to Yang Zishi, Zhou Donghuang reached out to pat her head. The young girl was a year younger than him and half a head shorter than him. Big brother Zhou, really? Yang Zishi was still in disbelief, her eyes filled with suspicion. Has big brother Zhou ever lied to you? Zhou Donghuang smiled and asked. No. Yang Zishi shook his head. Since that's the case, I'll go with big brother Zhou to that rock. Before Zhou Donghuang could say the word family, he was interrupted by a sudden voice. First mistress, is she the Yang Zishi who was expelled from the Yang family? Although the voice was old, it was full of energy. Accompanying the voice was an old man of medium build in a green robe. His face was dignified without being angry, and when he walked over, his movements were vigorous. Great elder. Seeing him, Ren Jiapai hurriedly bowed respectfully to the old man and introduced him to them. Brother Zhou, this is the head elder of the Ren family, Ren Xiong. Greetings, elder Ren Xiong. Yang Zishi hurriedly bowed to the old man. As for Zhou Donghuang, he only glanced at the old man briefly before looking away. The old man frowned slightly at Zhou Donghuang's rudeness, but did not say anything. He looked at Yang Zishi and said in a low voice, Miss Zishi, if possible, please leave the Rin family as soon as possible, lest you drag us down. Miss Jape is willful and disregards the bigger picture. Please have some self-respect. The old man gave the order to send the guest off. Great elder. Before Yang Zishi could speak, Rin Jape's expression had already changed as she glared at the old man. What do you mean by that? I allowed Sister Zishi to stay because my father agreed, not on my own. What right do you have to chase away my guest? Rin Jape's tone became extremely unfriendly as she spoke. First mistress, the chief agreed only because he felt that he had let you down all these years. You should know that the Shi family has already announced that they will cease all cooperation with the Rin family. The old man looked deeply at Rin Jape. Do you know how much the Rin family has lost because of this? And all of this is because of your willfulness. The old man's gaze gradually sharpened. Just as Rin Jape was about to say something, Yang Zishi said to the old man, Elder Rin Xiong, Zishi did not know that Zishi's arrival had caused the Rin family so much trouble and loss. Rest assured, Elder Zishi will leave today. With that, Yang Zishi looked at Rin Jape and squeezed out a smile. Sister Jape, Zishi knows how you feel, but I appreciate it. The luckiest thing that has ever happened to me, Yang Zishi, is to meet Brother Zhou and Sister Jape. Yang Zishi's gaze turned to Zhou Donghuang. Brother Zhou, let's call Brother Fu and Auntie Mei and leave together. All right. Zhou Donghuang nodded. Brother Zhou, Sister Zishi. Rin Jape's expression changed. She wanted to say something but was interrupted by Yang Zishi. Sister Jape, do you know? Before Zishi came to the Rin family to look for you, she sought out many people who were like sisters to her. But all of them, without exception, did not even see Zishi once before shutting her out. Zishi will remember this kindness of yours for the rest of my life. Yang Zishi said seriously, Zishi knows that you can insist on letting me stay in the Rin family, but my presence will affect the Rin family and even drag it down. This is not what Zishi wants to see. Sister Jape, please don't keep Zishi here anymore, okay? The longer you stay, the more guilty I will feel. As she spoke, Yang Zishi's eyes were covered with a layer of tears, but a forced smile hung on her face. Seeing Yang Zishi turn to leave with Zhou Donghuang, Rin Jape's expression was naturally very ugly. She glared at the head elder of the Rin family. Head elder, you will regret this. Just now, after witnessing the youth's ability, she knew that as long as he stayed in the Rin family with her sister Zishi, even if the youth did not join the Rin family, he would definitely not stand idly by when the Rin family was in trouble. But now, the head elder of the Rin family had single-handedly pushed her sister Zishi and the youth out the door of the Rin family. Regret? The old man smiled disdainfully, unconcerned. Seeing this, Rin Jape did not intend to explain anything to him, because she did not want the Rin family to keep the youth for profit. Let's just let nature take its course. With Big Brother Zhou by Sister Zishi's side, she will not be at a disadvantage outside. Thinking of this, Rin Jape heaved a sigh of relief and strode off in the direction that Zhou Donghuang and Yang Zishi had left in. Miss Rin, which inn in the Chu royal city is the best? Zhou Donghuang looked at Rin Jape and asked as Fu and Aunt Mei finished packing and prepared to leave the Rin family mansion. He had not asked Yang Zishi because he knew that she would definitely not tell him. Big Brother Zhou, the best inn in the Chu royal city is the Chuxiu Inn under the Chu royal household. The largest and best courtyard there costs 1,000 liang of silver a day, Rin Jape said. Even if it's for a year, it's still 300,000 liang of silver. Then Rin Jape added, I'll go get the money from my father in a while to book it for a year. 300,000 liang of silver was nothing to a grand family. But to Rin Jape, the daughter of the Rin family, it was not a small sum. At least she could not afford it herself. No need. Zhou Donghuang shook his head. I can still afford this bit of money. Big Brother Zhou, we don't have to go to such a good inn. At this time, Yang Zishi finally regained his senses and hurriedly stopped Zhou Donghuang. We can just find an ordinary inn to stay in. Zishi, ordinary inns will disturb my practice. Zhou Donghuang shook his head with a smile, and Yang Zishi naturally had nothing to say. Following that, Rin Jape ordered someone to prepare a carriage and personally took Zhou Donghuang and his party to Chuxiu Inn. As an inn under the Chu royal household and the best inn in the Chu royal city, Chuxiu Inn was not only located near the center of the Chu royal city, but also occupied an extremely large area. From the outside, Chuxiu Inn looked antique, simple and unadorned, but it didn't lose its grandeur. At the main entrance of Chuxiu Inn stood 2 rows of waiters, all dressed in the same uniform and in high spirits. Sir, are you here to stay? As Zhou Donghuang and his party approached, one of the waiters stood up and bowed. Zhou Donghuang, who was in the lead, had a bright smile on his face, making him feel at home. "I'll book your best courtyard for a year," Zhou Donghuang said lightly. Zhou Donghuang said calmly, "Everything is simple. We want to move in now. If you can do that, you can keep this tip." As he spoke, Zhou Donghuang took out a banknote worth 10,000 liang of silver from his pocket and handed it to the shop assistant. "Sir, please come in, I'll take you to the best courtyard of Chuxiu Inn." The waiter's hands were trembling as he received the banknotes from Zhou Donghuang. He had worked at Chuxiu Inn for so many years, but this was the first time he had encountered such a generous customer. As the waiter took the note, the waiters at the entrance of Chuxiu Inn were so jealous that their eyes turned red. Especially some of the older ones who had worked at Chuxiu Inn for more than 10 years, their tips added up to less than 10,000 liang of silver. "Ah Fu, pay him the room fee," Zhou Donghuang said to Fu as the waiter brought Zhou Donghuang and his entourage into Chuxiu Inn. Although he had brought some banknotes with him, it was only about 100,000 liang just in case. Most of the money was with Ah Fu. "Yes, young master." At the same time, Ah Fu took out a large stack of banknotes from his bosom, counted out 200,000 taels of silver, and handed it to the shop assistant who was leading the way. "Sister Zishi, this brother Zhou, who exactly is he?" Chapter 86. As the best guest courtyard in Chuxiu Inn, it occupied a large area, several times larger than Ren Jiapei's courtyard in the Ren family household. There were a total of 15 rooms, 5 for the master and 10 for the servant girls. The 5 master rooms were arranged in a straight line in the middle of the courtyard, while the servant girls' rooms were arranged on either side of the courtyard door. There were already 10 delicate-looking servant girls living in each room. "Welcome to Chuxiu Inn." As Zhou Donghuang and his party walked into the courtyard, the 10 servant girls stood in 2 rows and bowed to welcome them. Then they swarmed forward to help Fu and Aunt Mei with their bags. A few servant girls also stepped forward to help Fu with the black iron spear. Obviously, they could all tell that it was a spear made entirely of black iron, and its weight was not ordinary. Otherwise, it would not have been possible for so many of them to carry it together. Zhou Donghuang naturally noticed this detail. The servant girls of Chuxiu Inn have good eyes. However, when he thought about it, he felt relieved. What was this place? Chuxiu Inn. The best inn in the Chu royal city. Moreover, since these servant girls were arranged to serve the guests in the best guest courtyard of Chuxiu Inn, they must have been carefully selected and not just to make up the numbers. No wonder this courtyard costs 1,000 silver taels just to stay in it for a day. This is really a big deal. Zhou Donghuang's eyes flashed as he thought to himself. Of course, he was only slightly surprised that there was such an inn in the Chu royal city. In his previous life, he had roamed the universe and stayed in even more luxurious inns. Compared to those, this inn's guest courtyard was not even worth mentioning. The entire guest courtyard was divided into a front courtyard and a back courtyard, separated by the 5 master rooms in the middle. The servant girls usually only moved about in the front courtyard, and at most went to the master rooms in the courtyard to tidy up. In the back courtyard, unless the guests allowed them to tidy up, they were not allowed to set foot there. This also ensured the guests' privacy to a certain extent. These were all introduced to Zhou Donghuang and the rest by the slightly older servant girl among the 10 servant girls. In the past, I've only heard of how great the best courtyard in Chuxiu Inn is, but this is my first time here. This place is much better than the courtyard I stayed in with the Ren family. Ren Jiapei sighed and looked at Zhou Donghuang. She smiled and said, "Big brother Zhou, look, the 4 of you will only stay in 4 rooms. How about leaving the last one to me?" With that, Ren Jiapei pouted her cute little mouth and stared at Zhou Donghuang. "If you want to stay here, do you think I can stop you?" Zhou Donghuang shook his head with a smile. If Ren Jiapei was willing to move over, Zishi would have another companion, and he was naturally happy to see it happen. He wanted to console young Zishi, but he didn't know where to start. After all, he had roamed the universe for thousands of years in his previous life, and he had always been alone. He wasn't good at getting along with women. Although he never lacked women around him, he who was focused on cultivation, had no interest in those women. Of course, he thought to himself that perhaps he really hadn't met anyone who could move him, and he wasn't willing to settle for anything, so he had been alone all the way until he returned to 1,000 years ago. In this life, if I can really meet someone I like, someone suitable, I can try that pleasure that countless people yearn for. Returning to 1,000 years ago, Zhou Donghuang had thought of this more than once. Then it's settled. Hearing Zhou Donghuang's words, Ren Jiapei's eyes lit up, and she called out to Yang Zishi, "Zishi, let's go into the rooms to take a look." With that, she pulled Yang Zishi into one of the master rooms. However, they did not enter the master room in the middle. Of the 5 master rooms, the master room in the middle was obviously the largest, followed by the other 2 master rooms near the middle, and the 2 at the sides were even smaller. The 2 youngest ones were occupied by Ah Fu and Aunt Mei just now. Both Yang Zishi and Ren Jiapei had instinctively left the largest master room to Zhou Donghuang. Now that he had a place to stay and had settled down, Zhou Donghuang did not forget to stand up for the young girl. "Zishi, I've already asked a servant to prepare a meal. After dinner, Big Brother Zhou will go with you to the Shi family." The young girl acknowledged and thanked him profusely. "Thank you, Big Brother Zhou." She had already asked Aunt Mei to ask Fu in private, and after confirming that her Big Brother Zhou was indeed not afraid of the Shi family, she was no longer worried that her Big Brother Zhou would be at a disadvantage if he went to the Shi family. "I'll go too." Ren Jiapei's eyes lit up, obviously wanting to join in on the fun. The Shi family was a tycoon family, and although they were at the bottom of the tycoon families, they still had a certain status in the Chu royal city. Although the Shi family mansion did not occupy as much land as many of the tycoon families, it was not small, and it was located close to the center of the Chu royal city. However, today the Shi family mansion was not peaceful. "Chief, bad news." In the courtyard where the Shi family chief, Shi Hao, lived, a Shi family disciple rushed in frantically and said, "Someone has broken into our Shi family mansion." Who is so daring? The door to the room in the courtyard opened, and a burly, bearded, middle-aged man walked out. It was the current chief of the Shi family, Shi Hao. "It's a young man and 2 young girls," the Shi family disciple said. "The young man attacked and injured a few of us, then got one of us to bring them to the hall, and let the rest of us inform you, the chief, first young master, and medicine master Xiao." This Shi family disciple was one of the few who had been in charge of guarding the Shi family mansion today. He held his left arm with his right hand and his face was pale. It was obvious that his left arm had been injured. "Are you all so useless that you can't even stop a young man?" Shi Hao asked in a low voice, his gaze cold. "Chief, that young man is very strong, and we were completely powerless to stop him." The Shi family disciple smiled bitterly, but at the same time he thought to himself, if the other party was not strong, how would he have dared to break into the Shi family mansion? Of course, he did not think that the young man's strength was enough to contend with the chief of the Shi family. After all, the chief of the Shi family was a level 7 adept. And among the few of them who guarded the main gate of the family mansion, the strongest was only a level 3 adept of Qi gathering. However, the fact that a young man could overpower them still shocked him, because the young man looked to be at most 16 or 17 years old. Even the most talented heir of the Chu royal family at his age could not possibly be as strong as him. The Shi family disciple thought to himself. Shi Hao snorted coldly and walked towards the hall of the Shi family mansion with a solemn expression. On the way, his anger gradually subsided, and his mind became clearer. Just now, when he heard that someone had broken into the Shi family mansion, his first thought was that the intruder was very daring, and then he flew into a rage. As a result, he had overlooked many things. Or rather, he had not had time to carefully consider some things. A young man? In the Shi family household, even the weakest of the collateral disciples guarding the door were at least level 2 adepts of Qi gathering, and every batch of collateral disciples on duty had at least one level 3 adept of Qi gathering. A young man is enough to overpower them? At this thought, Shi Hao's expression became serious. He did not think that the collateral disciple who had informed him would lie to him, because he knew that the collateral disciple would not dare to lie to him. Soon, when he was still some distance from the hall, Shi Hao saw an old man walking in the direction of the hall. The old man's expression was grave. "Father." The old man was dressed in a loose gray robe, and he was burly and bore some resemblance to Shi Hao. It was Shi Hao's father, Shi Ji. Shi Ji was the previous chief of the Shi family, and the only level 8 adept in the Shi family. The Shi family was a tycoon family that had just been promoted 5 years ago. And the reason why the Shi family had been promoted to a tycoon family was that this old chief of the Shi family had attained level 8 5 years ago, leading the Shi family to become a tycoon family. "Do you know who that young man is?" Shi Ji asked solemnly as he looked at Shi Hao. "I don't know." Shi Hao shook his head with a bitter smile. "I asked carefully just now, the few of them together were no match for that young man. And among them there was even a level 3 adept." Shi Ji's expression was fearful as he said, "That means, That young man is at least a level 4 adept, or possibly even a level 5 adept. A mere level 4 or level 5 adept of chi gathering is nothing, but a youth who looks no more than 16 or 17 years old, even if he is only a level 4 adept. Do you know what that means? Shiji's tone became more fearful as he spoke. At least, in the current generation of the country of Yunyang, I have never heard of a prince attaining level 4 at the age of 16 or 17. Shiji gasped, the fear in his eyes growing. I suspect he might be from the Valley of the Medicine Masters. The Valley of the Medicine Masters? As soon as Shiji finished speaking, Shihao's expression changed, and his eyes narrowed. The Valley of the Medicine Masters was a sect so powerful that the Shi family could only look up to it, and it was above the country of Yunyang, to the point that a word from the chief of the Valley of the Medicine Masters could change the ruler of the country of Yunyang. Even if he is from the Valley of the Medicine Masters, why is he looking for us? Shihao was panicking, completely panicking. He could not help but panic. Since the young man who seemed to be from the Valley of the Medicine Masters had come to them in such a manner, it meant that he had ill intentions and was not just a simple guest. That's what I should be asking you. Shiji's expression darkened and he snorted coldly. He took a deep breath as if gathering his courage, before he dared to continue to the drawing room of the Shi family mansion. Chapter 87. The Shi family mansion. In the living room. Before entering, Shiryu was still puzzled. Where did this youth come from? Not only did he injure a disciple of the Shi family who was guarding the gate, but he also trespassed into the Shi family's residence. Furthermore, he even dared to openly wait for them in the living room of the Shi family residence. Now, when he walked in and saw the person sitting arrogantly in the main seat of his living room, his expression instantly darkened. It's you. The old man beside Shiryu frowned as he saw the youth in white sitting in the main seat of the living room, and his expression darkened. He could not understand why this youth was here. Was it him who had injured the Shi family disciples guarding the gate, barged into the Shi family mansion, and asked him to come to the living room of the Shi family mansion? The old man could not help but think that the Shi family disciples guarding the gate were useless, unable to even stop a youth of 16 or 17. The person who had entered with Shiryu was one of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city, Xiaoqin, who was also one of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city in recent days. This was because he had cured a poison that even the other 9 of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city had not been able to cure, and it had only taken him a few days. These few days, Xiaoqin's medicine shop's doorstep was almost broken by the people who went there to buy antidotes. After news of Xiaoqin joining the Shi family spread, the Shi family's medicine shop was bustling with people, as if the medicine sold there was free. All this was because Yang Yunji, chief of the Grand Yang family, had announced that it was Xiaoqin who had cured him of the poison. Because of this, Xiaoqin had been glowing every day these few days, as if he had been reborn. Zhou Donghuang, was it you who injured the Shi family disciples and barged into the Shi family mansion? Shiryu asked in a low voice as he stared at the youth in white sitting in the main seat. Now, even though there were 2 beautiful girls standing behind the youth, he was not in the mood to look at them. Because, if it was really Zhou Donghuang who had barged into the Shi family mansion, it meant that Zhou Donghuang was not weaker than him. Xiaoqin might not know the strength of the Shi family disciples guarding the gate, but as the eldest young master of the Shi family, how could Shiryu not know? If he really broke into the Shi family, he would at least be a level 4 adept of chi gathering, and no ordinary level 4 adept at that. While Shiryu was secretly shocked, he could not understand. Isn't this Zhou Donghuang just a country bumpkin from the inferior Yunfeng prefecture? Since when did an inferior prefecture produce such a person? Or maybe, his background is just something he made up. Actually, he's from the royal family, and even, the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Although Shiryu was young, he was more meticulous than most of his peers. Otherwise, he would not have been able to single-handedly force Xiaoqin, one of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city, to join the Shi family. Thinking that Zhou Donghuang might be from the Valley of the Medicine Masters, Shiryu's heart seemed to be shrouded in a haze. Impossible. Definitely impossible. Shiryu kept comforting himself. Xiaoqin. Yang Zishi, who was standing behind Zhou Donghuang, saw Xiaoqin and her eyes turned cold. She could not help but curse. Medicine Master Xiao, one of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city, I never thought you would be so shameless. It was obviously Big Brother Zhou who cured the poison, and you still have the cheek to say you did it, even I feel ashamed for you. What a little girl like you says doesn't count, Xiao Qin said with a grin. Xiao Qin grinned. No one would believe you even if you told them on the street. The world will only believe the words of the chief of the Yang family, Yang Yunji. If he says I cured it, then I cured it. As he spoke, Xiao Qian's smile grew wider. Hearing this, Yang Zishi trembled with anger. If she had not seen it with her own eyes, she would not have imagined that someone could be so shameless. Shameless. At this time, even Rin Jiape, who was beside Yang Zishi, couldn't stand it anymore. She scolded, "You old fart, it looks like you don't have many years left to live. Aren't you afraid of going to hell for doing such a wicked thing?" "You are?" Xiao Qin recognized Yang Zishi, but he did not recognize Rin Jiape. However, hearing Rin Jiape curse him, his eyes flashed with a cold light. "Medicine Master Xiao, she is the first young mistress of the Grand Rin family, Rin Jiape." "Sure," you reminded Xiao Qin softly. "So it is the first young mistress of the Rin family." Xiao Qin looked at Rin Jiape with a look of sudden realization. He continued to smile and said, "Miss Rin, I heard that you stubbornly took in this Yang Zishi. I advise you not to get involved in this mess. Otherwise, the Rin family's losses will only increase." As he said this, a cold light flashed in Xiao Qian's eyes, and the smile on his old face became more and more sinister and twisted. Although he was smiling, it looked worse than crying. Just then, 2 sets of heavy footsteps came from outside the hall. As Shi Yu and Xiao Qian instinctively turned their heads, they saw 2 figures walking in one after another. The one in front was an old man, and behind him was a middle-aged man. Both of them were well built, and there was a resemblance between their brows, especially their noses, which were almost identical. "Grandfather. Father." As Shi Yu spoke, the identities of the 2 people were revealed. They were the Shi family's previous patriarch, Shi Ji, and the Shi family's current patriarch, Shi Hao. Shi Hao. As Shi Hao entered, Yang Zishi's hateful gaze fell on him. It was this Shi Hao who had killed her third uncle, Yang Yunchong. "Greetings, Grand Patriarch." Even Xiao Qin, one of the top 10 medicine masters of the Chu royal city, did not dare to slight Shi Ji, and he hurriedly bowed in greeting. Shi Ji was not only the Grand Patriarch of the Shi family, but also the pillar of the Shi family, a powerful level 8 adept. The Shi family had become a tycoon family entirely because of him. If, after 100 years, the tycoon Shi family did not produce a second level 8 adept, the Shi family would revert to being a grand family. Patriarch. Xiao Qin was more at ease in front of Shi Hao, the current patriarch of the Shi family. "Medicine Master Xiao." Shi Ji nodded at Xiao Qin and walked past him and Shi Yu to bow to the young man sitting at the head of the table. Shi Ji of the Shi family greets young master. "How should I address you, young master?" Shi Ji asked respectfully. Shi Hao was not surprised by the Shi family's respect for the young man, but Shi Yu found it hard to accept, but he knew why his grandfather was so respectful to the young man. His grandfather must have suspected that the young man was from the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Zhou Donghuang. Zhou Donghuang glanced at Shi Ji and spoke for the first time. "You are the level 8 adept of the Shi family?" "Yes." Shi Ji hurriedly answered, not daring to be rude. Shi Hao, patriarch of the Shi family, greets young Master Donghuang. Shi Hao, the patriarch of the Tycoon Shi family, also bowed respectfully to Zhou Donghuang. Seeing this, Xiao Qin was completely stunned. "Patriarch, what are you doing?" "This lad is just a lad from an inferior level prefecture." "Patriarch, you know him?" "He is the young man who cured Patriarch Yang Yunji of the Yang family of his poison, Medicine Master Zhou." Xiao Qin looked at Shi Hao, his face full of confusion. "What?" Xiao Qin's words caused Shi Hao's expression to change drastically. When he looked at the young man again, his gaze was filled with fear. He's that young apothecary? Didn't they say he was only from an inferior level prefecture? How could someone from an inferior level prefecture attain level 4 or even level 5 of Qi gathering at such a young age? Shi Hao's heart trembled, and he felt his scalp go numb as he realized that he had kicked an iron plate this time. The young medicine master. The Valley of the Medicine Masters. With a flash of inspiration in Shi Hao's mind, these 2 points were completely connected. This would explain why this young man with a level 4 of Qi gathering could cure Patriarch Yang Yunji of the Yang family of his poison at such a young age. It was naturally not difficult for someone from the Valley of the Medicine Masters to do so. "Young Master Donghuang, you are from the Valley of the Medicine Masters." Taking a deep breath, Shi Hao asked Zhou Donghuang nervously, holding on to his last shred of hope. If he was really a disciple of the Valley of the Medicine Masters, then he could only admit defeat this time. If he was not, then everything would be easy. The Valley of the Medicine Masters? Hearing Shi Hao's name, Zhou Donghuang was first taken aback, then he laughed disdainfully. What? Do you want to know if I am from the Valley of the Medicine Masters so that you can plan your next step? Shi Hao smiled awkwardly at Zhou Donghuang's words. If you want to know if I am from the Valley of the Medicine Masters, go find Yang Yunji of the Yang family. I can't be bothered to make another trip to the Yang family. Today I will settle this matter with the Shi family. I will go find Yang Yunji now. Hearing this, Shi Hao dared not delay and hurriedly turned to leave the hall. The Valley of the Medicine Masters? Just as Shi Yu was looking at Zhou Donghuang in shock and uncertainty, Xiao Chen's gaze towards Zhou Donghuang was also changing rapidly, and his expression had become somewhat ugly. He could not understand. How did this young man get involved with the Valley of the Medicine Masters? What exactly is going on? Just then Shi Ji looked at Shi Yu and asked in a low voice. Grandfather. Shi Yu looked at Zhou Donghuang carefully, then told Shi Ji everything that had happened in detail. Shi Ji was usually in seclusion and rarely cared about outside matters. Although he knew that Xiao Chen had joined the Shi family, he was surprised, but he did not know how Xiao Chen had joined the Shi family. Hearing Shi Yu's words, Shi Ji's expression changed. He could not blame his grandson and son for this matter, because if it were him, he would have done the same thing. However, what was unexpected was that the young medicine master who had helped cure the Yang family chief Yang Yunji was actually from the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Grandfather, he might not be from the Valley of the Medicine Masters. Shi Yu said softly. Chapter 88. Sister Zishi, Big Brother Zhou, is he from the Valley of the Medicine Masters? Seeing that all three generations of the Shi family were afraid of the youth being from the Valley of the Medicine Masters, Ren Jiaopei could not help but ask Yang Zishi softly. I don't know. Yang Zishi's pretty face was also filled with confusion. I don't think he is? She still remembered that her big brother Zhou had told her that he had grown up in Yunfeng Prefecture, and this was the first time he had left Yunfeng Prefecture. Of course, the reason he had told Yang Zishi this was because this was indeed the first time he had left Yunfeng Prefecture in this life. In his previous life he had traveled much further than he was now, and he had been taken to another faraway planet, Earth. No. Ren Jiaopei was a little disappointed, but she was not worried, because the youth had already demonstrated his great power. Furthermore, the youth had dared to come to the Shi family despite knowing that there was a level 8 adept, which meant that he was not afraid of the Shi family. About 15 minutes later, the Shi family head, Shi Hao, who rode a Fergana horse to the Yang family, finally brought the Yang family head, Yang Yunji, over. He brought him all the way to the living room of the Shi family mansion. Shi Hao, you still haven't told me why you called me here in such a hurry. Yang Yunji was still yelling when he reached the hall of the Shi family mansion, his tone filled with confusion and confusion. You'll know when you go in. Shi Hao said in a low voice as he returned to the hall. Hearing this, Yang Yunji immediately followed him into the hall. Entering the hall, Yang Yunji immediately saw his niece, Yang Zishi, who had been chased out of the Yang family by him. She was standing at the head of the hall looking like half the host. Seeing Ren Jiaopei beside her, he was not surprised because he already knew that this first mistress of the Ren family had taken in his niece, but that was not something he could interfere with. In the end, his gaze fell on the young man who sat at the head of the table like he was the master. It's you? The moment his gaze landed on the youth, Yang Yunji was first stunned, then said in disbelief, why are you here? Yang Yunji found it hard to imagine that this country bumpkin from an inferior prefecture would be sitting at the head of the Shi family's guest hall. Moreover, now even the Grand Patriarch of the Shi family, a level 8 adept, was standing below him, looking as if he was afraid of the youth. Could it be that he had made a mistake? Young Master Donghuang, I have brought the person. Now can you tell me? Shi Hao stared at Zhou Donghuang and asked. Tell you what? Zhou Donghuang asked lightly. Young Master Donghuang, are you from the Valley of Medicine Masters? Shi Hao asked again. Valley of Medicine Masters. Initially, Yang Yuanji's expression had already changed slightly when he saw Shi Hao, the patriarch of the Tycoon Shi family, being so respectful to the youth. When he heard Shi Hao ask the youth, his expression changed drastically. Medicine King Valley? Wasn't this kid a country bumpkin from an inferior prefecture? How could it be someone from Medicine King Valley? No. Zhou Donghuang said lightly. No. Shi Hao's eyes flashed and everyone else present heaved a sigh of relief. They did not think that Zhou Donghuang would say no on purpose, because under such circumstances, it would be a miracle if he did not lie and say yes. Then young Master Donghuang, which family are you from? Shi Hao asked again. There's no need to test me. Zhou Donghuang stood up without any warning and said lightly, I have no family backing me. As for me, I was born and raised in the inferior Yunfeng Prefecture. I have a foster mother who used to be a disciple of a preeminent family in Yunfeng Prefecture, but she has now left that preeminent family. Zhou Donghuang revealed all his background in a few words. If you really want to know what my background is, I Zhou Donghuang am my background. As he said this, Zhou Donghuang's eyes flashed like the stars in the night sky. At the same time, a strong sense of confidence emanated from his body, as if there was nothing in the world that could frighten him. Chief Shi, I was wondering why you brought me here in such a hurry, so it was because you thought that this country bumpkin was a disciple of the Valley of the Medicine King? You think too much. Disciples of the Valley of the Medicine King are not cabbages that can be found anywhere. Yang Yunji shook his head and smiled. If you are not from the valley, how dare you come to the Shi family and act so presumptuously? When Shi Hao looked at Zhou Donghuang again, his eyes turned cold, and at the same time he took a step forward and said coldly, Today, since you have come to the Shi family, don't even think of leaving. Shi Ji stood at the side, frowning slightly as he looked at the youth who had left his seat. This youth, if he did not have any background, where did he get such strong confidence from? He really could not understand. If he did not have any background to rely on, how could this youth be so confident? Deliberately mystifying? Bluffing? Then I would like to see. If I want to leave, how will you stop me? Zhou Donghuang strode toward Shi Hao. Just as Shi Hao was wondering where the youth's confidence came from, Yang Yunji laughed coldly. Lad, just you alone, there is no need for Chief Shi to do anything. I, Yang Yunji, can send you on your way. As he spoke, Yang Yunji's feet moved, and he used a lesser-grade swiftness technique to rush towards Zhou Donghuang. Whoosh! Yang Yunji arrived in front of Zhou Donghuang and struck out with his palm. The wind blew gently and the power of a level 6 adept was fully displayed. Just as Yang Yunji's palm struck towards Zhou Donghuang did not even look at him, and with a jerk of his right arm, he struck out with lightning speed to meet Yang Yunji's palm. Bang! The palm met and a loud sound echoed in the hall. Crack! Ah! Accompanied by the sound of bones breaking, Yang Yunji let out a blood-curdling scream like a pig being slaughtered. His entire body flew backward, smashing through a few screens in the living room along the way before landing heavily on the ground with blood spurting from his mouth. The arm that he had used to strike out had been pierced through the shoulder by Zhou Donghuang, and it was completely crippled. The huge living room fell into a dead silence at this moment. Big brother Zhou. Even the two girls who had been mentally prepared, could not help but gasp when they saw Zhou Donghuang injure Yang Yunji so badly with just a casual blow from him. Yang Yunji, as the chief of the Grand Yang family, was a powerful level 6 adept of qi gathering. But now, in front of their big brother Zhou, he was as vulnerable as a baby. How is this possible? Shi Yu's expression changed. He had already been in disbelief when he had guessed that the youth before him was a level 4 adept of qi gathering. Now, with a casual strike from the youth, Yang Yunji, who was level 6 of qi gathering, had been injured so badly, which meant that the youth's level of practice was definitely above level 7 of qi gathering. Perhaps even higher. This youth, could he be the reincarnation of a great adept? Xiaoqun looked at the youth in shock and his heart trembled. Even in the Valley of the Medicine Masters, which was superior to the country of Yunyang, it was impossible for a youth of 16 or 17 years of age to have such a prodigy. Therefore, Xiaoqun could not help but guess that the youth before him might be the reincarnation of a great adept. Even a Khanate stage adept who was superior to an adept of qi gathering was not qualified to be called a great adept. A great adept referred to those who were superior to a Khanate stage adept. These beings could fly in the air, and they could even use their physical bodies to travel through the void and leave the planet of Ziyun for other planets. To the people of the country of Yunyang, they were legendary beings. Throughout the entire planet of Ziyun, there were not many such beings, and all of them were prominent figures on the planet of Ziyun. Shi Hao, chief of the Tycoon Shi family, level 7 adept of qi gathering. I heard that you are the most powerful level 7 adept in the Shi family? Zhou Donghuang had sent Yang Yunji flying with a single strike as he walked, but it did not affect his progress. In a moment he was in front of Shi Hao. Sir, only when Zhou Donghuang was in front of him did Shi Hao come to his senses, and his face was filled with fear. Even he did not have the ability to injure Yang Yunji so casually with a single strike like the youth had. In the entire Shi family, perhaps only his father had the ability. Young Master Dong Huang, have mercy. Just then Shiji stepped forward. Now he finally knew where the youth's confidence came from. Just as the youth had said, his background was himself. Based on the ability that the youth had just displayed, it meant that the youth was at least a level 8 adept of Qi gathering like him. Although he found it hard to believe, he had seen it with his own eyes, and he had no choice but to believe it. What? Are you trying to stop me? Zhou Donghuang tilted his head slightly and glanced at Shiji. Then without any warning he moved. It was as if he had transformed into a ferocious beast, charging straight at Shiji. Seeing this, Shiji's eyes narrowed and he did not dare to delay, preparing to attack with all his might. But his speed was still too slow. Just as he was gathering his strength, Zhou Donghuang had already sped up and was in front of him. Without using his hands or legs, he simply turned his body sideways and slammed his elbow into Shiji's chest. Bang! With a loud bang, Shiji flew backward as if he had been hit by a ferocious beast that was good at charging. He crashed into a huge pillar in the living room, leaving a deep human-shaped mark on it. The next moment, boom! Kaboom! The entire living room shook as if there had been a violent earthquake, and it took a while for it to calm down again. Shiji's old body crashed to the ground, blood spurting from his mouth. His breathing was weak and his face was pale. After struggling for a while he managed to stand up. Father. Grandfather. Both Shi Hao and Shi Yu's expressions changed drastically. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.